Chapter 51. Yamanaka Kei's idea of drawing on the strengths of various schools and creating new techniques was rejected by Tsunade without any room for maneuver. According to her, if it is just the transfer of life energy, it is not particularly difficult. The real difficulty lies in how to use the transferred life energy to heal the physical injuries of the person being treated. After all, not everyone is like Gaara in the original work, whose body remains intact even after being captured by Akatsuki and having his tailed beast extracted. In most cases, the fatal injuries suffered by ninjas can be described as shocking. Nohara-Rin's death, in which her heart was ripped out, was already the least physically traumatic in the ninja world. After listening to Tsunade's words, Yamanaka Kei silently excluded the two ninjutsu, Earth Grudge and Shiki Tensei, from his required range in his mind. At the same time, the Dragon Life reincarnation of the Dragon Life clan and the secret method of transforming into a butterfly of the Wind Demon clan were highlighted again. Even if we can't rob them openly like we did in Cloud Shinobi Village. But with his current strength and attainments in Yindun, it is not particularly difficult to find an opportunity to capture a member of these two ninja clans who knows the ninjutsu he needs, and then rewrite his memory afterwards. It seemed that the topic just now reminded Tsunade of the past. After showing off a whole table of dishes and rice, she did not ask to enter the illusion and kill everyone, but returned to her previous bedroom alone and continued to study the previous ninjutsu. Yamanaka Kei and Kushina, one just came back from a mission of more than 10 days, and the other just finished supervising the construction of a new Jainin standby station. After we packed up a few large boxes we brought back from Senjo's old house. The two of them were equally exhausted, so after washing up, they said goodbye and went back to their rooms to rest. As for the beauty of living together, in front of Tsunade, the two of them tacitly restrained the little thoughts that were about to arise in their hearts. No words were spoken that night. At 9:30 the next morning, Yamanaka Kei woke up from a deep sleep accompanied by the sound of drizzling rain. It is said that every autumn rain brings a chill. This mid-October rain took away the last bit of heat from midsummer. Open the bedroom door. The originally spacious living room was now filled with a lot of food and cooking utensils. The list given to Nara Yoshino last night was also placed on the dining table along with a sticky note and a breakfast. Jing, I checked the list and nothing is missing. I have an appointment with the furniture store owner today to customize furniture for Jainin standby station, so I won't be back until noon. An umbrella is prepared at the entrance, please remember to bring it. Also, eat breakfast before going out, the sticky notes on the dining table still have the familiar handwriting. Yamanaka Kei's lips curled up into a smile. After a simple wash, he sat at the dining table and quickly had breakfast. Although Kushina was no longer at home at this time, but this feeling of always being cared for and thought of by someone still makes him feel warm even though he has lived alone for many years. Finish your breakfast with big mouthfuls. Yamanaka Kei changed into a simple combat uniform and put on a brand new Jainin vest. After checking the various scrolls in his pockets and the ninja tool bag on his waist, he picked up the umbrella at the entrance and went out. On rainy days in Konoha, there are far fewer people walking around than usual. Even though the cobblestone streets don't appear muddy on rainy days, there are still many people who are reluctant to go out in such weather. Yamanaka Kei loves rainy days. Whether it's hiding in the quilt to sleep, lying in front of the window watching the rain, or quietly writing something. The sound of rain outside the window always makes him feel extra safe and comfortable. I walked all the way to the Hokage building holding an umbrella. Yamanaka Kei was standing on the steps at the entrance of the building, waving the closed black umbrella in his hand. After temporarily depositing it in the document review room on the first floor, I went up to the second floor and came to the file room to register it. The file room is divided into two rooms, inner and outer. In the outer room, there was a desk and two chairs. An envoy was sitting on the chair, his eyes fixed on Yamanaka Kei who entered the file room. The inner room was locked with a heavy metal door, and another envoy was standing at the door to guard it. Yesterday afternoon, the order signed by the third Hokage arrived at the file room. The envoy Captain Niu who was in charge of guarding the file room, verified Yamanaka Kei's identity again after helping him register. He just took out a 3-finger-thick file catalog of ninjutsu. No, I've already chosen the darkness technique and the spiritualization technique. Yamanaka Kei waved his hand and didn't look at the long catalog. It is true that there are a lot of ninjutsu stored in the archives room, but not many of the ninjutsu recorded in the catalog are valuable to him. The origin of the Yamanaka family and the 5-year experience of serving in the analysis class. The number of ninjutsu of various attributes and various unconventional jutsu he acquired was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Hold on. Jayade nodded slightly, put away the catalogue, and nodded with the other enbu. He opened the heavy metal door and entered the inner room of the file room. After a moment, Niu took out 2 palm-sized scrolls and placed them on the table. Confirm the authenticity of the ninjutsu, sign it, and I don't need to say more about the management regulations. Niu's tone remained cold and hard. An old man who entered Anbu during the second Hokage Senju Tobirama period. Many years of Anbu career have made him very taciturn. He has spoken so many words today, which is like being treated as an acquaintance. Well, you can't record it, you can't take it away, you can't leak the principles of ninjutsu, and you can't teach it to others privately. Yamanaka Kei opened the 2 scrolls and glanced at them. After signing the confirmation letter, he carefully looked at the 2 ninjutsu again. Illusion, Dark Technique, A-level illusion. An illusion that focuses on blocking the opponent's vision, causing them to fall completely into darkness. Unlike most illusions, once the victim notices it, the opponent will break free by disrupting the flow of chakra in the body. The person who was hit by the dark technique knew from the beginning that he was under an illusion. But the key problem is that they can't solve it. After all, this technique was developed to deal with Sharingan. Given that Sharingan is able to defend against, rebound, and dispel various illusions, it is easy to imagine how difficult it is to dispel the illusions that are enough to block Sharingan. Yamanaka Kei's current illusion is indeed very strong, and he has also set various restrictions to prevent the illusion from being broken. But the Dark Technique's technology is still of great help to him. Spiritualization Technique, S-Level Soul Secret Technique. The effect is like the legendary Out of the Yang God, which allows the soul to leave the body and move freely. Move quickly regardless of distance, sense other people's souls from a distance, transfer chakra through the soul, be immune to physical attacks, defeat the enemy's mind, and control the enemy's body. Even after the impure world reincarnation is lifted, it can still control the ascended souls. As a member of the Yamanaka clan, Yamanaka Kei's family secret techniques can defeat the enemy's spirit and control the enemy's body. But they cannot leave their bodies, move freely, or transfer chakra. If he could integrate this ninjutsu into the family secret techniques he already possessed. With the ability to freely adjust the family secret techniques in a controllable soul state, his strength will probably rise to another level. Moreover, in the spiritual state, it has the ability to move quickly regardless of distance. There are so many things that can be done. Chapter 52. Yamanaka Kei only spent less than 15 minutes looking at it before returning the 2 ninjutsu scrolls. The speed reading and memory abilities are enhanced by the Blue Entry King of the ninja world. 15 minutes was the result of his deliberate restraint. If he was really in a hurry, he could just force the contents of the scroll to be memorized in his memory palace and then review it slowly later. Leaving the somewhat depressing atmosphere in the file room, Yamanaka Kei asked the clerical staff on the first floor and learned that Narashikako was on duty at the mission release office again today. Too lazy to make another trip, he decisively opened his umbrella and headed towards the intelligence room. Anyway, I will be able to see Narashikako tomorrow night at the latest. To view such sealed confidential files, one also needs to find the right opportunity and timing. A day earlier or later doesn't make much difference. It would be better to go to the intelligence room first and ask the staff there if they have any news about the mountain cemetery. The drizzle in the morning gradually became heavier as time passed. The falling raindrops hit the umbrella, splashing water. Walking in the cold rain. Yamanaka Kei turned the handle of the umbrella in his hand, watching the raindrops splashing around the edge of the umbrella, and thinking of the darkness technique he had just watched, his mood became better. The principle of the dark technique being able to block Sharingan with 3 megatama or less and being difficult to unlock was simpler than he thought. This technique is indeed an illusion. But the creator was very cunning and incorporated sealing techniques into it. Therefore, when the spell is cast, the target will first see the surrounding darkness approaching and enveloping him/her rapidly like tentacles, causing him/her to gradually lose his/her light. This step is actually laying the foundation for the sealing technique. One of the 5 senses, vision, was affected by the illusion, and then the illusion energy constructed a simple seal on the outer layer. Who in their right mind could have imagined this? How can it be possible to break the seal by simply using the method of breaking illusions? For most people, if you fall into this illusion, you will be defeated unless you have the ability to defeat 10 opponents with your own strength. Violently break the seal composed of illusion energy. Otherwise, you can only hope that your teammates can kill the caster quickly. That's a great idea. Yamanaka Kei sighed inwardly. Using the energy and means of illusion, use illusion energy to construct a seal while performing the illusion. Although the operation is incredibly difficult, just by sealing the vision, the difficulty of mastering ninjutsu soars to A level. But does he lack chakra control? After obtaining the bug entry of 0 frame start, he can now maintain the Super S level forbidden techniques such as water style raise nan for more than 30 seconds. While performing the illusion, use Yin Tun chakra to construct a simple sealing technique from a long distance. After all, it can't be harder than the water style raise nan. Using the flying stick, stacking a series of lights at the same time? Yamanaka Kei suddenly had an image of a black figure being forcibly tied to a table in his mind. The adult Hitaki Kakashi made the tiger seal with his hands, staring fiercely behind the black figure. Wipe brutal, so brutal. Yamanaka Kei rubbed the goosebumps on his arms and shivered violently. An illusion version of 1,000 years of death is enough to cause great psychological trauma to most people. If they are not allowed to launch a catapult. What's the difference between this and Naruto holding 1,000 years of death kunai with an explosive tag tied to the back? Even African hyenas are not so ferocious. While daydreaming, Yamanaka Kei came to the intelligence department. I greeted 2 old acquaintances who were guarding the gate. I handed the umbrella to one of them without hesitation and asked him to look after it for a while. He strolled straight into the intelligence room responsible for collating and summarizing intelligence. From the perspective of Konoha's management system, the analysis class that Yamanaka Kei previously belonged to was under the jurisdiction of the intelligence department. I have been working in the analysis class for a long time. Naturally, he was also familiar with the intelligence office, which was also under the jurisdiction of the intelligence department. You just came back and you came to the intelligence department. Aren't you afraid that I will use you as a laborer? Sandy, the current head of the intelligence room, pushed up his thick glasses when he saw someone coming in. After seeing the person's face clearly, he couldn't help but make a joke. He is 11 years older than Yamanaka Kei. He spent nearly 15 years in the intelligence department. When Yamanaka Kei first entered the analysis class, he was still a little boy in his eyes. Now, in the blink of an eye, I have reached the age where I can talk about marriage. As long as I finish asking questions and run fast enough, he won't be able to catch up with me. Yamanaka Kei approached Sandy with a smile on his face and sat down on the chair next to him without any hesitation. Intelligence department isn't coming here the same as going home? You know the regulations. I will answer what I can. Sandeki chuckled, put down what he was organizing, and looked at Yamanaka Kei. Senior, do you know the exact location of the mountain cemetery in the Iron Country? Let me think about it. It seems to be a basin or valley filled with bones of large creatures, with unknown miasma. People and animals will get lost if they stray into it. Yes, yes, yes. Senior. Where is the exact location? Let me take a look. I think, I found it. You can take a look at it if you have the permission. Sandy stood up and walked to the file rack marked with the 40 years of Konoha, and rummaged through the rows of numbered documents for a long time. Finally, he pulled out a bag of sealed documents, dusted the bag, turned around and handed it to Yamanaka Kei. Team Chippu, investigating the Iron Country deaths. Yamanaka Kei glanced at the file name and opened the long sealed file bag. The first is a hand-drawn map of the Iron Kingdom, which details the location and scope of the mountain cemetery. Among the remaining pile of documents were several hand-drawn sketches of the mountain cemetery. Very similar to the scene in Yamanaka Kei's memory palace. The written records contain details of what happened here 6 years ago, as well as the results of the investigation and final judgment of the mountain cemetery. Chippu, Konoha Jainin, skilled in perception ninjutsu and cautious by nature? Hat. Yamanaka Kei didn't even need to look at the record below to know what was going on. As a perception ninja, Chippu happened to pass by the mountain cemetery. Most likely due to his personality, he used perception ninjutsu to explore the surrounding environment. Or maybe he noticed something was wrong and wanted to take a closer look, but was stopped by Uchiha Madara. Or Uchiha Madara sensed the spying of the perception ninjutsu and took the initiative to come out and kill him. The subsequent investigators were probably fooled by Uchiha Madara using illusions or other means. I found you. Uchiha Madara. Yamanaka Kei licked the corner of his mouth subconsciously and felt his body getting a little restless. He really just came here to try his luck. Who would have thought that he could find the place that was not discovered until the Fourth Ninja World War in the original work so easily? And since Madara was there 6 years ago, he also specifically dealt with the ninjas from Konoha who went to the mountain cemetery to investigate. Then before the Third World War begins, or before Obito is chosen as the successor and brainwashed and trained, he will most likely not move. Just keep the Flying Thunder God coordinates. Have enough backup plans ready. If we can beat him, we'll catch the old guy and beat him to death. If we can't beat them, we can just copy the entries and run away. He. Chapter 53. Yamanaka Kei carefully memorized the details of the Iron Kingdom map in his memory palace, and repeatedly reviewed the sketches of the mountain cemetery before putting the documents back into the file bag. The documents were archived, and Sandy said goodbye to him, who was still patiently sorting out the fragmented information and retranscribing the intelligence. Yamanaka Kei took back the black umbrella, suppressed his restless heart, said goodbye to everyone in the intelligence department, and walked into the rain again. It was a complete surprise for him to obtain accurate information about Uchiha Madara's hiding place so quickly. Likewise, he wasn't planning on looking for trouble with the other party today. That is Uchiha Madara after all. Whether it is the memories in the original work or the family records of the Yamanaka clan, they all speak of how powerful this man is. The powerful taijutsu that has been honed through thousands of trials, the terrifying fire style that burns everything, the unrivaled Susanoo, the devastating Tenge Shinsei. This is a man whose name alone can make the entire ninja world tremble. Even if Yamanaka Kei had a hole in his brain like Danzo, he wouldn't just rush in without thinking after receiving the news. The drizzle is still falling. The misty rain fog was like smoke and gauze, making the Hokage rock in the distance look a little hazy. Meow meow. Yamanaka Kei was daydreaming. The sound of a cat crying and things falling over, mixed with a series of footsteps stepping over puddles, came from the alley on the left. A slender calico jumped out of the alley with a look of panic on its face. After turning a few corners, he ran to the other side of the street and piled up miscellaneous items in the corner that were 3 meters high. And after the 3 flowers disappeared, 3 genins who looked less than 10 years old and had childish faces, chasing out from the alley in wet clothes. Damn it! It ran away again. This cat is so cunning. Uchiha Obito complained with a look of resignation on his face. If it weren't for some idiot who insisted on wearing goggles on a rainy day and shouted that he was hit by the mist shinobi technique after discovering the target, the mission would have been accomplished. Hitaki Kakashi mocked Obito's unreliability. A pair of dead fish eyes without any emotion kept scanning every corner of the street, trying to find any clues of where the cat left off. Damn it! If I hadn't found that cat first, you wouldn't have seen the target of the mission yet. Uchiha Obito felt that he had lost face and blushed on the spot. Just as he was about to roll up his sleeves to have a good argument with Hitaki Kakashi, Nohara Lin stepped forward, stood between the two of them, and began to reconcile them in a soft voice. All right, it's okay. We just need to keep working hard. Uchiha Obito turned his head reluctantly and snorted. Hitaki Kakashi's gaze didn't even stay on Obito for a second. His eyes kept scanning every alley, every stair, and every place where a cat could hide, looking for traces of the mission target. Yamanaka Kei senpai. When Uchiha Obito turned his head, he immediately noticed Yamanaka Kei, who was holding an umbrella and looking at the 3 people not far away. He, Kakashi, and Nohara Rin had previously been to the Jainin apartment where Namikaze Minato-sensei currently lived. When I was looking through the photo album, I saw many photos of Mr. Minato and this senior Yamanaka Kei. There are photos of them entering the ninja school together, photos of them graduating from the ninja school, and photos of them coming back alive from the Second Ninja World War with wounds all over their bodies. According to Minato-sensei, this person is his best friend whom he can trust with his life. Thinking of this, Uchiha Obito smiled brightly and trotted to Yamanaka Kei. Senior Jing. I am Uchiha Obito, a disciple of Namikaze Minato. Excuse me, did you see a cat with 3 colors running by here just now? A pile of junk. Yamanaka Kei looked at the child in front of him with a sunny smile, a subtle complexity flashed in his eyes, and he raised his hand and pointed to the pile of debris where the cat was hiding on the side. Name, Uchiha Obito. Occupation, ninja. Entries, love and kindness, blue, kindness, green, friend of the elderly, white, sienna, grey. There is no vicious entry like Shimura Dan's, who can be seen as a villain at first glance. There are no explosive talent entries. Being passionate and emotional means being true to one's nature, being natural and unpretentious, and being rich in emotions. It increases the growth of spiritual energy, and slightly increases the power of fire style and the ability to burst out in a crisis. A kind, pure and simple heart increases affinity and improves popularity. Friends of the elderly, the probability of meeting elderly people over 50 years old increases significantly, and the probability of being late increases. After helping the elderly's favorability increases significantly. Siener, your independent thinking ability has declined and you are prone to making stupid moves. Idiot, kind, unpretentious, true to nature, popular with the elderly, explosive in times of crisis. Aren't these personality traits really what a male protagonist in a hot-blooded comic should be like? Just grow up normally slowly. With the encouragement of teachers, the company of peers, and the care of people around me. Even if they cannot become heroes who save the world, people with this kind of entry should be characters that shine with the brilliance of humanity. Who could believe that this person would become a birth in the future? Kenji. Yamanaka Kei looked at the three people not far away, feeling somewhat sad about the fate that played tricks on him. To be honest, he did think about killing Uchiha Obito directly before. But on the one hand, killing a child who has not done anything wrong because of something that has not happened. It somewhat violated his inner conscience. Secondly, Uchiha Madara doesn't want Uchiha Obito. He is just a tool who can be brainwashed and complete Project Tsuki no Mi according to his arrangements. Obito's eye-opening talent might be good, but it's definitely not the only option. Even if you die, there will be water, fire, thunder, and girls in the future. But, are you really not going to interfere? Yamanaka Kei glanced at the entry. Brother, you smell good on the system interface. In the original work, Obito would be completely brainwashed and determined to carry out Project Tsuki no Mi. The fundamental reason was that he witnessed his sweetheart Nohara Rin being betrayed by Kakashi. If Obito's sweetheart is Kakashi? I have this damn moral obsession. Why can't I do something so good? Yamanaka Kei glanced at the deactivated entry. Brother, you smell good on his personal panel several times. I stood there feeling conflicted for a long time. Not far away. Kakashi used the summoning technique to summon 3 ninja dogs, and cooperated with Nohara Rin to block the Calico Cat's escape route on the ground. He jumped onto the roof to prevent the Calico Cat from escaping from the height. While Uchiha Obito was arguing with Kakashi, he began to move the debris in the pile, trying to force the Calico Cat out. Seeing that their hiding place was no longer safe, Sanhua jumped out from the pile of debris. Obito was quick-witted and quick-handed. He crouched down and hugged Sanhua. Before he could even boast, he crashed into a pile of debris. Boom! The pile of miscellaneous items, which had been stacked irrationally, collapsed with a loud bang, burying both the person and the cat alive. The continuously falling raindrops could not cover the huge cloud of dust. Yamanaka Kei's face looked painful. Obito closed his eyes and sensed the bottom of the junk pile. He was clearly hit pretty hard as well, but he still forced himself to bend his body and protect the kitten in his arms. He sighed slightly in his heart. Obito, you must always be kind from now on. Chapter 54. Obito. Obito. Nohara Rin ran forward with a panicked look on her face and tried to dig up the collapsed pile of debris. Kakashi, who had been indifferent, was also startled and quickly jumped off the roof. I'm fine, Xylan. Hiss, it hurts. Cough, cough, I'm choking to death. Obito's voice came from under the pile of debris, and before he could finish his sentence, he gasped in pain several times. Get out of the way. Yamanaka Kei's voice came from behind Kakashi and Nohara Rin. When the two heard his voice, they knew that their teacher's best friend had chosen to help, so they quickly stepped aside. Water style. Water prison technique. Yamanaka Kei formed a seal with his right hand, and the surrounding rain quickly gathered on the pile of debris. Almost instantly, all the debris was wrapped in the light blue water prison formed by the huge water ball. The handprint is raised upwards and then stroked. The water dungeon that was originally attached to the ground with the sundries wrapped inside was lifted several meters off the ground, and then moved horizontally to the corner of the wall on the other side. Revealing Uchiha Obito, who was holding a calico kitten in his arms, trying to bend his body and grimacing in pain. Obito. How are you? Don't move. Let me take a look first. Nohara Rin rushed to Obito and took out a portable first aid kit from the ninja tool bag at her waist. Quickly treating Obito's back injury. Kakashi on the side took over the mission target, the Calico Kitten, from Obito. His eyes were fixed on the place where the water prison technique had last landed. The water dungeon technique, which originally wrapped the entire pile of debris, rolled and surged as it fell, quickly stacking the debris in it neatly. When it finally hit the ground, it turned into trickles of water and disappeared silently into the surrounding rain. This outrageous control of ninjutsu! I've never even heard of Kakashi, let alone seen it. Can the water prison technique be used like this? After water style was performed, the water didn't just disperse with a loud splash. Is this really a ninja from the Yamanaka clan? Shouldn't they be better at the family secrets? Is it an outlier? Or is this guy's family secret technique more powerful than water style? Might Guy mentioned earlier that his team leader was also called this? Although Kakashi still looked indifferent and dead-eyed on the surface, countless questions arose in his heart. Looking at Yamanaka Kei, who had turned and left without knowing when. His arm holding the Calico Kitten tensed slightly. In the past, he had always thought that his strength was quite close to those of the veteran Jonin, and that what he lacked was only combat experience. When he grows bigger and improves his strength and speed, he will definitely be able to become a leader among Jonin. But now it seems that he was too arrogant. There may be many mediocre guys among Konoha's Jonin, but there are also strong ones like his sensei Namikaze Minato and Yamanaka Kei. Hey! Kakashi, this time I got the information first, and I also captured the target. Uchiha Obito accepted Nohara-Lin's careful treatment, with a childlike sense of satisfaction and pride on his face. As for the injuries on his body, they were just some bruises from being hit by heavy objects. After applying the medicine, you will be mostly better tomorrow. In comparison, these minor injuries are not worth mentioning at all since they can make Kakashi suffer a setback. You almost killed the target of the mission. Kakashi held the Calico Kitten's armpits with both his hands, and looked at Obito with a cold look mixed with a hint of disgust. It was just a D-level mission. It would have been bad enough that he failed to capture the enemy the first time due to his lagging behind. Later on, not only was he injured, he almost caused the target of the mission to get injured as well. Impulsive, emotional, do things without considering the consequences, have no sense of time, and always encounter various emergencies at critical moments. He never thought that one day he would become a teammate with such a person. Don't worry, comrades need to get along well with each other. Hey? Has Senior Jing left? I haven't thanked him for his help yet. Nohara-Lin moved her body inconspicuously to prevent the two of them from seeing eye contact. He glanced at the place where Yamanaka Kei was originally, and tried to change the subject, acting as the bond and lubricant of the team. A street corner in the distance hidden in the rain and fog. Yamanaka Kei looked at Namikaze Minato's shadow clone hiding behind the wall and rolled his eyes speechlessly. Since you are worried, why not follow me out in the open? Kakashi is already a Jonin, but this kid's personality and the way he handles things are a bit extreme. I still hope he can realize the importance of his companions. If he knows I'm here, it will always affect his true thoughts and decisions. Namikaze Minato scratched his head with a wry smile, and tactfully explained Kakashi's problem. He has good talent, strong ability, and great self-discipline, but he was affected by the affairs of Konoha's White Fang Hotaki Sakumo, and some of his performances during the missions really gave him a headache. Tisk, his father died in vain. Yamanaka Kei curled his lips and complained about Kakashi. He'll understand someday. Namikaze Minato sighed, a complicated look flashing in his eyes. At the beginning, the famous Konoha's White Fang was once considered a strong contender for the fourth Hokage. Who could have thought that he would commit suicide amid a rumor storm? At first, he also couldn't understand why Hotaki Sakumo made such a choice. But after Yamanaka Kei's advice and observing the changes in Konoha over the past few years, he truly felt the far-reaching impact of this incident. In the 6 months after White Fang's initial suicide, Konoha's mission casualty rate increased dramatically. Although some high-ranking officials are reluctant to admit that they are wrong, the Hokage always repeatedly reminds the ninjas who accept missions to cherish their own lives and those of their companions. Many high-difficulty tasks will even be highlighted when they are released, and you can choose to give them up depending on the situation. As long as there is a legitimate reason, you will not be held accountable. The number of tasks that were demanded to be completed at any cost has been greatly reduced. Many of Konoha's ninjas who were often assigned difficult missions actually secretly breathed a sigh of relief. With such changes, who can say that White Fang's death was meaningless? Where is your real body? Yamanaka Kei didn't want to continue the topic of Hatake Sakumo. He once tried to change Hatake Sakumo's ending, but the Hatake clan was a samurai family. Hatake Sakumo has his own beliefs and persistence. It is with this belief that he can become Konoha's White Fang, famous in the ninja world. So when faith collapses, he couldn't persuade her, and no one else could. Well, Anbu has already questioned all the researchers we sent back from Summoning Island through reverse hypnosis, and the new research institute has also begun to be built at the Zero training ground. After Anoka found out, she took the initiative to ask for a reverse hypnosis question as well. The original body is accompanying his girlfriend, and Shadow Clone is accompanying his disciples. You have worked really hard. Haha, it's okay. Bring Anoka to my house tomorrow at noon. Kushina, Shikaku, Yoshino, and the others will be there too. Let's try the new restaurant's dishes together. Anoka will be very happy if she knows this. Namikaze Minato smiled and nodded. Anbu's reverse hypnosis, while not as detailed as the memory reading, was enough to determine Anoka's position. After asking, he went to see Kushina, who was the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Even if the Hokage knew about it, he would not say anything. Then, Namikaze Minato thought about the embarrassing experience of last night. He asked proactively. Jing, do you know how to go about the approval process for residential land use? Build a love nest together? Jainin apartment is not big enough. Ah? No, well, I just feel. Namikaze Minato's thoughts were guessed, and he almost failed to maintain the form of Shadow Clone. He was so embarrassed that he exploded on the spot. Take your Jainin ID and go directly to Narasazaku. He knows the connections well. When you move into your new home, I will give you my best wishes. Yamanaka Kei patted Minato's shoulder, interrupting his attempt to explain. What blessing? 9 treasures in 1 fetus. Chapter 55. After saying goodbye to Namikaze Minato, Yamanaka Kei strolled back home. He quietly used the Yamanaka clan's secret technique again to connect to the perception barrier covering the entire Konoha through the back door. Following the chakras of Might Guy, Kurenei, and Genma Shiranui, I easily found the 3 people who were eating nyoken and watching the rain under the awning outside the Ganli-gan store. He used the summoning technique, preparing to summon the crow that he kept in the Konoha bird summoning beast breeding house and that was most familiar with the village environment, and asked it to call the 3 little ones over. This crow is different from the swift crow that summoning had possessed in the Tea Country town and Summoning Island. Its IQ is significantly higher than that of its peers. Just by teasing them a few times in your spare time, you can learn to say small blessings such as wish you good fortune and prosperity and always smile. Can also understand and execute some less complex instructions. My favorite thing to do is to stroll around Konoha village during the breeding house's exercise time. If I see someone with food in their hands, I'll go up and take a bite while saying a few words of blessing. This results in its body size being nearly half larger than its peers, rounder and fuller, and its flying speed being much slower than its peers. Seeing how clever it was, Yamanaka Kei not only did not despise it, but also gave it a name, Galeazai. Only. FK, where should I go? Yamanaka Kei stared blankly at the disappearing summoning formation. Unconvinced, he dipped his tongue in the blood storage tube again and performed the summoning technique again. Unfortunately, the sweet-mouthed little black fat guy in my memory still didn't show up. With a bit of uncertainty, Yamanaka Kei tried to summoning other crows. The caw of crows immediately echoed in the mansion. Dead. Yamanaka Kei casually released the summoning technique and stood up from the ground with a confused look on his face. Since it's not his problem, there must be something wrong with the summoning beast. The summoning beast did not respond to the summoning technique's call. There are only 2 possibilities. One is that they are in a sealed barrier or are sealed and bound, and the other is that their souls have already returned to the Pure Land. Who the hell would have the time to seal a fat crow? So. His slip was fine, how come it disappeared? When he came back yesterday, he took the falcon-pied Pidgeot to the bird summoning animal breeding house for foster care. The staff didn't tell him either. What happened between yesterday noon and now? Wrong. The images in the memory palace in Yamanaka Kei's mind flashed continuously. The details of the facial expressions of the staff when they received him yesterday were magnified right in front of him. At that time, I was in a hurry to go to the Hokage building with Minato to hand in the mission, so I didn't pay much attention. Looking at it now, it seems like these people's eyes are a little evasive. 1 or 2 of them might be accidents, but no one dared to look him in the eye. Isn't this a problem? FKU. I pay so much money to the breeding house every year. Why didn't you tell me when it died? Yamanaka Kei became angrier the more he thought about it. He even suspected that his summoning beast died because of a problem in the breeding house. He didn't care about making a special breakfast at the moment. He got up and went out again, heading straight to the northeast of Konoha. Konoha's bird summoning beast breeding house is located in the northeast corner of the village, built against the broken wall of Shadow Rock. When the weather is good, you can always see flocks of birds and beasts, either flying freely in the sky or taking a rest somewhere on the cliff. Because of the weather today, most birds stayed in the breeding house to avoid the rain. From a distance, you can hear the chirping of many birds. Yamanaka Kei just stepped into the door of the breeding house. I didn't have time to ask any questions. When several staff members in the breeding house saw him, they all bowed 90 degrees without saying a word. The person in charge of the breeding house even trotted over to bow and began to apologize without even raising his head. Yamanaka Jainin. I'm so sorry. Your summoning beast Galea's eye unfortunately met with an accident while being let out for a walk 12 days ago. I was taken to Anbu for questioning and the staff was ordered to keep it a secret, so we were unable to inform you of the news in time. This was a mistake on our part. We will seriously reflect on our mistakes and do our best to compensate you to make up for your grief over losing your summoning beast. Please believe me. After the person in charge made a series of apologies, he quickly took out an envelope that had been prepared long ago from under the desk on the side and respectfully presented it with both hands. Judging from the thickness, it should be about 50,000 taels. Yamanaka Kei fosters 10 crows in a breeding house, and the annual cost of fostering them is about 80,000 taels. That is to say, a crow would cost 8,000 taels a year. Don't think this is cheap. Currently, the monthly living expenses for the war orphans in Konoha village are only 600 taels, and the cost of fostering a crow summoning beast is higher than other people's living expenses. He had raised this beast for 3 years, and had spent about 24,000 taels in total. Adding the cost of hatching and training the summoning beast, the total expenditure was about 30,000 taels. Normally speaking, this compensation of 50,000 taels is indeed a sign of sincerity. Anbu? What happened? Yamanaka Kei looked at the staff who kept bowing, and after wanting to say something several times, he sighed helplessly. He came here with a lot of anger in his heart. But there's nothing wrong with their reasons and their attitude, and since Anbu intervened and asked for confidentiality, you really can't blame them. How to do this? Your summoning beast flew past the Hokage's office building near the end of its airing time and collided with the Hokage's assistant who was leaving through the window, killing him. The expression on the person in charge's face was one of fear and pain. He was really bleeding this time. He was previously taken away by the Anbu ninja who came to his doorstep, and was suspected of deliberately attacking Konoha's high-ranking officials. He was nearly frightened to death on the spot. If it weren't for the reverse hypnosis and memory reading that confirmed he had no intention of murdering Konoha's high-ranking officials, everything would have been just an accident. It's unclear whether he can come back. And even so, the breeding house paid a large sum of money to the Hokage assistant. But who can be blamed for this? Blame the crows for flying too low and not enough defense? Or is it because the Hokage assistant jumped too high and wore a helmet? 12 days ago? Denzo. I had just left the Hokage's office and he killed me with his summoning beast? Are you sure he was killed by a collision and not a coup now? Yamanaka Kei's anger, which had originally subsided, now rose up again. That old guy Denzo is targeting him. It must be. With the speed at which this guy usually flies when taking a stroll in Konoha, how could he possibly kill someone by crashing into them? It is said that the Hokage assistant was in a hurry to carry out a confidential mission, so he left in a flash, and he was wearing a combat helmet on his head. Your summoning beast happened to be hit the helmet. Yes, please accept my condolences. Also, regarding the compensation to the Hokage assistant, our breeding house has already completed it. You don't need to bear any responsibility, and please don't worry. Compensation? That old guy still has the nerve to ask for compensation. Yamanaka Kei was completely shocked. His summoning beast was killed by Denzo's steel helmet, and that guy even turned against Tiangang and demanded compensation? Ahem. Yamanaka Jainin, these are the ashes of your summoning beast. Would you like to take them with you, or bury them in our summoning beast cemetery? When the person in charge of the breeding house heard Yamanaka Kei scolding Denzo, he shuddered and decisively changed the subject. He really doesn't want to go to Anbu again, so no matter whose fault it is, no matter who is responsible, let's end this mess as soon as possible. Let's go into the cemetery. Yamanaka Kei looked at the white urn in the person in charge's hand, which was not much bigger than a cigarette box, and felt angry, aggrieved and speechless. It was he who gave Danzo the entry brain opening. He was also the one who killed the summoning beast. Damn! So angry. Chapter 56. Yamanaka Kei, who was feeling upset, suppressed his temper and went to visit the remaining 9 crows and the falcon pidgeot that had just arrived yesterday. I see that the little crows are still living a comfortable life without any problems. Pidgeot was also in the breeding house and found his 2 former friends from Summoning Island, and they were being affectionate with each other. Then he said goodbye to the staff of the breeding house and left. When she comes, her chest is filled with anger, when she leaves, her mammary glands are blocked. Yamanaka Kei never dreamed that this boomerang could be so sharp. What's this? Karma and retribution? Fart. That old guy Danzo has done so many disgusting and shameless things. If there was any retribution, it would have been done long ago. Yamanaka Kei looked unhappy as he walked along the streets of Konoha towards Gangkurai where Yui Kurane, Might Guy and Shiranui Genma were previously. As a long-established dessert shop in Konoha, Gan Li Gan has been rooted in Konoha as early as the Senju Tobirama period. The yokin sold in the shop is a jelly-like snack made by boiling beans or chestnuts and adding auxiliary ingredients. It is very popular among young people. After joining Yamanaka Kei's team, Yui Kurane, Might Guy and Shiranui Genma have received 2 D-rank missions during this period. While greatly alleviating their financial pressure, with the help of continuous heavy seals on their limbs, the strength of the 3 also improved significantly. The cooperation between them became more tacit because of the task that lasted for a week. Originally, the 3 of them planned to go to the number 4 training ground to practice together today, but due to weather reasons, they had to change their plans temporarily. Have you heard? Those summoning beasts that were auctioned off earlier might have been collectively knocked down by an illusion. Genma Shiranui held a Senbon cigarette in his mouth, looking at the rain outside the store and chatting casually with his teammates. Well, there are more than 100 summoning beasts of varying sizes. Even if they are all crowded together, the area is still larger than the school's training ground. Teacher Jing is really amazing. Xi Rihong rested her elbows on the dining table, her hands supporting her cheeks, her chubby little face full of yearning. She also wanted to become such a master of illusion, who could make the enemy fall into an endless nightmare with ease. It's a record that makes our blood boil. Might Guy threw punches quickly at the side. It seems that he is always full of energy. I heard someone complimenting me. A familiar male voice came from behind the 3 little ones. The 3 of them turned around and looked with joy on their faces. Yamanaka Kei was holding a black umbrella and looking at them with the same warm smile as before. Hey! Teacher Jing! Good morning! Genma Shiranui reacted very quickly and quickly stood up and saluted. Might Guy standing by followed suit, with a serious expression on his face for a second. If you didn't know him, you would think he was going to the battlefield. When Yui Kurane saw the black umbrella in Yamanaka Kei's hand, her heart skipped a beat and she quickly looked around him. He heaved a sigh of relief when he saw there were no blood-stained bandages and no smell of medicine on his body. In the ninja world, there are only those ninjas who use umbrellas as ninja tools. In fact, most ninjas don't usually use umbrellas, because when moving quickly, the umbrella will cause a big hindrance and is not conducive to movement. When she first saw her teacher holding an umbrella, she thought the teacher was injured and the wound should not be exposed to water. Thanks for your concern, but I'm fine. I only held an umbrella because, well, someone told me to bring one when I go out today. Yamanaka Kei easily received Yui Kurane's silent concern and raised her hand to rub her little head. It must be said that he benefited greatly from his disciples' concern. Of course, although they enjoyed it, the fate of the 3 little ones had already been determined. But if you work hard, well, just give them a small reward. Kushina-senpai is so gentle. Zahi Kurane immediately realized who was admonishing her teacher, and her ruby-like eyes were filled with envy. Kushina Senior gave instructions, and the teacher followed them seriously, looking so happy. Might Guy and Genma Shiranui, who were standing by, heard what Kurane said and nodded silently. While their teacher was on a mission, it was always Senior Kushina who accompanied them, took care of their lives, answered their questions, and guided their practice. Although sometimes his personality is the same as his teacher, he can suddenly become a bit evil. For example, after they had just adapted to the heavy seals on their limbs left by the teacher, using the same excuse of giving a gift, the binding force of the seals was suddenly increased to a higher level. But Kushina-senpai is really an outstanding and gentle senior. Would you like to come to my house today? I'm going to cook some different delicacies and have someone come to taste them tomorrow. Seeing that the three little ones all agreed with Kushina, Yamanaka Kei felt better and decisively started to set a trap. Teacher Jing's home? Hehe, then let's come and help. I have learned cooking well at home. Zihai jumped into the pit without blinking, not realizing how huge this project would be. Guy and I should be able to help out. Genma Shiranui scratched his head and pulled Might Guy beside him into the camp to help. At their age, although they don't like to learn cooking, they are also unable to resist the power of delicious food. Senior Kushina has said more than once that their teacher had excellent cooking skills when he was studying at the ninja school. Who doesn't like delicious food? Taking advantage of the light rain, the group went to Yamanaka Kei's home. The luxurious three-story mansion with a single floor area of more than 200 square meters made the three little ones amazed again and again. But when they saw the various ingredients and kitchen utensils that took up most of the living room, the three of them fell silent. Hateful. I was fooled again. With so many ingredients, it's enough to open a restaurant. Click, haha, I'm going to the hospital. Please save some food for me at noon. Tsunade yawned, opened the bedroom door and walked out in dishevel, greeted Yamanaka Kei casually, and signed up for lunch. Tsunade-sama. Good morning. When Kurenei saw Tsunade, her big eyes flickered non-stop. Senior Tsunade, one of the legendary Sunin, is the idol of all female ninjas. Might Guy and Genma Shiranui also came to their senses at this time, and hurriedly saluted Tsunade with a stiff look on their faces. Although they know that Kushina-senpai and Tsunade-senpai seem to be relatives, how can they still be sisters if they live together with their boyfriend? Going to the hospital at 11. Yamanaka Kei raised an eyebrow. He thought Tsunade and Kushina went out together in the morning, but it turned out that they slept until now. As long as I can make it in time for the condolences. Tsunade pouted in dissatisfaction and went to the bathroom to wash up. Anyway, she has to deal with it this time for the old man's sake. Some people make her feel uncomfortable just by looking at them, so how can she possibly give them treatment? You're not treating Danzo. As soon as Yamanaka Kei saw Tsunade's expression, he immediately had a guess in his mind. There are only 5 people in Konoha who can make Tsunade so impatient. Among these people, it seems that only Danzo is in poor condition recently. You're pretty well informed. Want to see the joke? Tsunade thought of Yamanaka Kei and Kushina, both of whom seemed to be at odds with Danzo, and a slight smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Ahem, I'm mainly worried that it might be inconvenient for you, Sister Tsunade. Tisk, that little BCH really told you everything. Tsunade pouted in dissatisfaction, turned around and continued walking towards the bathroom. And Yamanaka Kei's mouth corners at this time are harder to suppress than aka 47. Danzo. You didn't expect that. The master is coming. Chapter 57. The three little ones were bewildered as they arrived at Yamanaka Kei's house and were about to be ruthlessly abandoned. Seeing that the teacher had to go out temporarily, the three of them originally wanted to make another appointment to visit him. As a result, Yamanaka Kei, a shadow clone, solved all the problems. We deceived 3 free laborers and let them go so easily. Who will roll the dough, make the buns, and grind the soy milk in the afternoon? Shadow clone stayed at home, washing and cleaning various pots and pans, and began to direct the 3 little ones to work in an orderly manner. Might Guy was kneading the dough, Yui Kurane was washing and selecting the vegetables, and Shiranui Genma was chopping the meat. The 3 of them were working hard. Yamanaka Kei, along with Tsunade, headed towards the Konoha Hospital. In the intensive care unit on the 3rd floor of Konoha Hospital, Shimura Dens was sitting on the hospital bed, with an 4 in his left hand, while he was quickly flipping through the latest information sent back from the major ninja villages on the small table with his right hand. A root member wearing an Anbu mask and Anbu standard equipment was standing by the bed dutifully. The ceiling and walls of the ward were covered with dense parasites the size of rice grains. Although the large number of constantly wriggling parasites made the ward environment look particularly creepy. But compared to the extremely high consumption, difficulty in sustaining, and need for multiple people to maintain the defensive barrier, this small shortcoming is not worth mentioning at all. Shimura Dens finished reading the information from each village and closed his eyes to sort out the information in his mind. He just took a blank scroll and began to assign the tasks that the root ninjas needed to perform today and tomorrow. Click, the door of the ward was pushed open by a slightly old hand. The root ninja on the side bowed his head slightly and saluted to the three old men who walked into the ward. Shimura Dance glanced at him with a sinister look. Only after seeing the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, as well as Yuditen Koharu and Mito Kaido Homura, did he regain some of the coldness in his eyes. Close the scroll in your hand and put it aside for now. What's up? Hasn't Tsunade come to treat you yet? Sarutobi Hiruzen walked over to the sofa nearby and sat down, not paying attention to his friend's cold tone and indifferent attitude. He understood his friend's feelings and sympathized with his situation to some extent. After all, anyone who is under the influence of unknown forces has to be on edge all the time, guarding against attacks from nowhere, and I'm afraid they won't be in a good mood. She probably hopes that I will die here. Shimura-dan stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen's right hand, which had just taken out the pipe, with his one eye, and the air pressure on his body dropped a few degrees in an instant. She just has some misunderstandings about you. We all see your contribution to Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen faced his friend's silent condemnation and finally put away his pipe. Really? If you don't want to smoke, then don't smoke. Why are you glaring at me? Hiruzen, you've been too indulgent with Tsunade. And Jiraiya and Orochimaru, look at what they're like now. Yuditen Koharu and Mito Kaido Homura also sat down on the sofa on one side. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's evasive words, he refuted them mercilessly. Jiraiya is free and undisciplined and disregards the rules governing Konoha shinobi. Every time he accepted a mission, he would go out under the guise of gathering intelligence to search for the elusive child of destiny for Mount Maiboku, and he would often stay away and not return. Tsunade was lazy and irritable. He often missed high-level meetings without reason and sneaked out of Konoha to drink and gamble. Isn't it the man who gave you a token of love and then died? Her husband has been sacrificed for so many years, is she still unable to recover? And Orochimaru? He accepted missions diligently, but as soon as he came back he would go into the laboratory and become obsessed with the study of ninjutsu. If you continue like this, something bad will happen sooner or later. Tsunade is still very young, so it's inevitable that she has some minor flaws. For the sake of the first generation and the teacher, please be more tolerant. Sarutobi Hiruzen once again avoided the main point and did not mention Jiraiya and Orochimaru at all, only briefly talking about Tsunade's problem. He also brought up the first generation and second generation, hoping that Yuditen Koharu would get away with it. But Sarutobi Hiruzen obviously underestimated the long-suppressed dissatisfaction and anger of his old friend. Being young is not a reason for her to fall into decadence. The achievements of the first-generation master and the teacher are not a reason for her to act recklessly. As the descendant of the two, she should be a Konoha shinobi. Boom! The ward door flew out of the wall due to the violent blow. The twisted and deformed door rushed straight towards Yuditen Koharu, who was sitting on the sofa. As one of the Shadow Guard members of the then second Hokage Senju Tobirama, he was a leader among the Genin. Yuditen Koharu, who just turned 51, has seen a serious decline in strength, but he is not as old and weak as he was during Shippuden. He instinctively swung out with a whip kick, barely able to kick the deformed door panel away. He staggered back to the ward window. Buzz! A large number of parasites instantly covered the bed. Shimura-dans looked at the corner of the door that was deeply embedded in the swarm of parasitic insects and stopped less than 10 centimeters away from his head, and the hairs on his body slowly fell down. He glanced at Tsunade, who kicked the door, and Yuditen Koharu, who looked angry. He almost couldn't suppress his murderous aura. They all knew that he was being plotted against, and if any accident happened around him, it would eventually hit his head. These two women are actually fighting in the ward. Is their brain full of water? Or do you really want to take the opportunity to send him away? Yamanaka Kei, who was standing one step behind Tsunade, saw through the empty door frame the door of the ward slamming to the ground and the swarm of parasitic insects covering the entire bed, and sighed with regret in his heart. As the old saying goes, good people don't live long, but evil deeds last for thousands of years. This old guy Shimura-dans is really good at living. Looking to one side, he used a parasitic insect to block the door. His presence was weak, and he was just a member of the root standing silently in the corner. He understood. According to the timeline, this person should be a Aberme Ryoma, who was regarded as Danzo's right-hand man after the Third Ninja World War in the original work. He is young, but his strength is not bad, he should be stronger than many Konoha Genin. Yamanaka Kei quickly observed everyone in the ward. Veins popped out on Tsunade's smooth forehead, and the azure 100 healings mark instantly turned pitch black. Old woman. That's enough. Is there anything I said that is wrong? Yudin Koharu quietly moved his numb right leg, but he refused to give in. Even though Tsunade is now much stronger than her, she doesn't think she did anything wrong. When Sarutobi Hiruzen saw the tense atmosphere, he quickly stood between the two men and acted as a skilled peacemaker. Tsunade, Koharu just used harsh words. You know her. She never meant any harm to you. Koharu, you too, we all watched Tsunade grow up, so naturally we hope that she can become a better person, but even as an elder, you have to be careful about how you do things. Tsunade, we are old, and the future of Konoha still depends on your generation. We are worried about the future, so we will naturally raise our expectations of you. The first generation and second generation projects have entrusted the burden of the future to us, and we can't help but worry that we haven't done enough or enough. Sarutobi Hiruzen's nagging but heartfelt words gradually dampened Tsunade's momentum. Kaido Homura on the side nodded repeatedly with a look of approval. Yudin Koharu, who had been stiffening his neck just now, took a few deep breaths and his expression gradually softened. Only Shimura Dans was watching coldly, with a slightly sarcastic smile on his face. If you want to talk about fooling people, you have to look at the old man. Yamanaka Kei watched the atmosphere quickly ease up after the third generation's persuasion, and he was really impressed by this old man from the third generation. With this level of smooth talk, who wouldn't be confused after hearing it if they have any feelings for the other person? What if he is the Hokage? Danzo, learn this. Expression management, expression management. Yamanaka Kei saw Danzo's mocking expression and immediately realized that there was something wrong with his expression. I quickly put 200% of my acting skills into copying Kaido Homura's expression. It's me. The new generation of successor to the Will of Fire in Konoha. Chapter 58. When I watched anime in my previous life, Yamanaka Kei actually hated the duo of Yudin Koharu and Kaido Homura. Sometimes it even feels like the two of them are Danzo's lackeys. But after actually living in this world for more than 10 years, he gradually overturned his original preconceived impressions of the two. These two people are truly rare good people among Konoha's high-level officials. Kaido Homura is a man of integrity and has his own bottom line. Although because he is a thoughtful person and often worries that others have not done things well, he asks all kinds of questions, which gives people a bad impression of someone who wants to get involved in everything. But in fact, he always suggested not to interfere, which was what he should do as a senior consultant. As a disciple of Senju Tobirama, Yudin Koharu has the idea of collectivism ingrained in his bones. Stuffy, serious, and can say hurtful things, but he truly puts the village first. She was the first to propose genocide when the Uchiha threatened the village, and she was also the first to ask Danzo where he was during the Nine Tails Rebellion when he opposed Sarutobi Hiruzen's reappointment as Hokage. The two were able to survive until the incombustible era and still serve as senior advisors of Konoha. It's not just because of his status as a disciple of second Hokage Senju Tobirama. The reason why many people hate them is simply because they did not stand with the protagonist. The original Naruto was obsessed with every bond and every ninja way, and often ignored the ninja management regulations of Konoha. If she says she wants to chase Sasuke, no one can stop her. If she says she wants to go find Orochimaru, no one can persuade her. Konoha is a military organization after all. With such lack of organization and discipline, it would be strange if Yudin Koharu and Kaido Homura could stand on the same side with him. Didn't you see that after Naruto grew up, he changed his previous unfriendly attitude towards the two and became more respectful to them in his daily life? It's not that these two people have changed anything. But as he grew up, Naruto realized that there is no order without rules. To protect Konoha, we must first maintain the rules of Konoha. If everyone acts recklessly, Konoha will fall apart. As for Tsunade, Zhuangzi said, don't advise others to be good without experiencing their suffering. If you have experienced my suffering, you may not be as good as I am. Tsunade grew up without a father or a mother. There were only his great-grandfather, his second grandfather, grandmother Mito, and his younger brother Nawaki at home. In his early years, in order to protect Konoha, my great-grandfather went out to fight with someone, and because of his injuries, he died before she grew up. Within a few years, my second grandfather went out to sign an alliance with others in order to protect Konoha, and he disappeared again. My younger brother said he wanted to become Hokage and protect Konoha, but the next moment he was gone. I finally met a warm-hearted guy who said he wanted to become Hokage to protect Konoha, but he disappeared in front of me when I went on a mission. I just returned to Konoha to seek comfort from my grandma, but she said she wanted to protect Konoha left by my grandpa. If the tailed beast is moved away, my grandma will be gone too. This is Sufugui in the Hokage world. If Yamanaka Kei put himself in their shoes, he would really feel that it was a bit unbearable. This should be his turn. I won't say that I hate Konoha to the core, but from now on I will definitely be allergic to protecting Konoha. Who the hell dares to mention this to him? He had to find out the other party's family tree and let them protect Konoha one by one. So for the friction between Tsunade and Udaten Koharu. He actually wanted to say to Udaten Koharu, I know you are doing this for the good of Konoha, but please let her go. There is only one page left in her family's household registration book. The farce in the ward did not last long. With Sarutobi Hiruzen's already perfected art of talking, Udaten Koharu, who had just had a conflict with Tsunade and felt a little embarrassed, just said goodbye and left. Mito Kaido Homura saw that there was no one else who needed him, so he just went out with them. The two walked to the door and nodded politely to Yamanaka Kei before turning around and leaving Konoha Hospital. We can start now. Shimura-dan saw that those who were in the way had left, and immediately started to urge them on. He had no choice but to be anxious about this matter. He had done a detailed examination at the root base, but the medical ninjas could not find the cause. Orochimaru also said that he was powerless. The fire temple had an old monk named Zongjo come a few days ago, but he was also helpless about his condition. Several root ninjas who went to the land of demons to inquire about the shrine maiden did not even see the shrine maiden, but only got a hint that the person who tied the bell must be the one to untie it. How could he not know that the caster can undo the spell? Who is the BD who cast the key spell? Test results. Tsunade wasn't in the mood to waste time with Denzo, so he immediately got into the game. Abarame Ryoma at the side immediately handed over a stack of checklists that was more than a finger thick. Tsunade quickly checked the data one by one, and her brows gradually furrowed. It's just a minor rejection reaction. The body's natural aging causes the deterioration of cell activity. There is no abnormal chakra reaction. The problem is obviously not with the body. There is nothing I can do about it. Tsunade only flipped through a dozen pages before stating the diagnosis. Won't you check further? Shimura-dans obviously couldn't accept this result. When Yamanaka Kei, who was standing at the door, heard this, he looked at the other party's entry interface thoughtfully. The blue entry single-eyed 3 Megatama that was originally ranked first disappeared. I thought to myself, as expected. How could this old man not take out his Sharingan if he dared to let Tsunade conduct a detailed examination and treatment? Elder Danzo, there is nothing wrong with your body. The result of further examination is the same. As for the condition that has appeared in you, I suggest you ask an expert in Yin Dan. Tsunade glanced at Yamanaka Kei who was standing at the door and peeking. Shimura-dans and Sarutobi Hiruzen in the ward subconsciously followed her gaze. Shimura-dan's face turned even darker. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen had no choice but to come forward and invite Yamanaka Kei in. Jing, you should know something about Elder Danzo's situation. Tsunade-san briefly mentioned this before. Yamanaka Kei secretly cursed Tsunade for being unsportsmanlike. He just came here to make fun of Danzo and see if he should give him some system specialties to vent his anger that the guy had died in vain. This sister doesn't want to pay attention to Shimura-dan's, but she can't put the blame on him. He is the real mastermind behind all this. What do you think? The third generation did not think there was anything wrong with Tsunade's words. There is nothing wrong with Danzo's body, so if we don't consider the Yin Dan involving mental power, what else can we consider? The Yamanaka clan are experts in Yin Dan, and Yamanaka Kei is the elite among the family. Not only is he good at the family secrets, he also has a very powerful illusion technique. If not him, who should I ask? Hokage-sama, no matter how Yinsuku is transformed, it still requires chakra to activate. In Danzo-sama's situation, Yamanaka Kei pretended to be troubled. This obvious reluctance to speak naturally could not be hidden from the eyes of the third generation. You can just say it. When I was learning about evil seals, I read some records from the Sengoku period. There were Shinigami that could seal souls, Zuma that ate memories, and Wu Yang that used dark power. Yamanaka Kei tried to throw the pot further away. Upon hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura-dans both frowned. That kind of power is not something a ninja is good at. Ahem. Of course, there are ways to solve Danzo-sama's situation. Yamanaka Kei changed the subject again. Years of experience have taught him that when it comes to passing on the buck, a little guidance is all that's needed. People tend to believe more in what they see and what they think. If he said too much, people might even start to suspect him. What can I do? A barely perceptible look of anticipation flashed across Danzo's dark face. Isn't Elder Danzo's head always being attacked? Learn a secret technique similar to the water transformation technique. Even if your head explodes, you can still recover. Yamanaka Kei came up with the best solution. Both the third generation and Danzo were silent at this moment. Hydration technique. Without the blood of the Ghost Lantern clan, who the hell can learn that thing? Chapter 59. Tsunade's originally serious and cold expression collapsed after hearing what Yamanaka Kei said. Due to the particularity of ninjutsu, the difficulty of learning the hydration technique is no less than developing a bloodline limit. How difficult is it to develop a bloodline limit? The 5 major ninja villages each have some inheritances left by their predecessors that can develop bloodline limits. Tsunagoku's Magnet Style, Cloud Shinobi Village's Storm Style, Iwagaku's Lava Style, Kirigaku's Boil Style. But how many people in the entire ninja world can learn it? Does Danzo have that talent? He has talent, can he lie here? Tsunade finally couldn't suppress the smile on his face, and raised his hand to pat Yamanaka Kei's shoulder. It's a good idea, don't think about it next time. Jing, those secret techniques that are closely related to bloodline limits are extremely difficult to practice for those without bloodline limits. Elder Danzo is no longer young, and he doesn't have that much time and energy to study these. Sarutobi Hiruzen tactfully found a way out for Shimura Dan's. Being a ninja may seem glamorous, but it is actually not an easy job. Continuous refinement of chakra and frequent injuries will overdraw the body's potential and leave various hidden injuries. For most ninjas, their physical condition will take a sharp turn for the worse once they reach the age of 40. Various abilities and states will also begin to decline. At Danzo's current age, it's better not to make things difficult for him with a technique this difficult. Shimura Dan's already gloomy complexion became even darker after hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words. What do you mean he is no longer young? What do you mean you don't have the time and energy to study these anymore? Isn't the old monkey certain that he can't learn it? Humph. Shimura Dan snorted inwardly, not wanting to argue with Sarutobi Hiruzen over such matters, lest he be laughed at by the younger generation. In his heart, he began to ponder what Yamanaka Kei had just said. In fact, he had always guessed before that the person who attacked him might not be a ninja. Otherwise he wouldn't have sought the power of the Fire Temple and the Miko. However, neither the Konoha ancient book library nor the precious books left by the Sarutobi and Shimura clans found anything that matched his symptoms. If I look for it again later, I guess the chances won't be great. It was Yamanaka Kei's second suggestion that gave him a wake-up call. It is not necessary to solve the root cause of the attack on his head. On the contrary, making him immune to such attacks is also a good idea. Is it difficult for normal people to learn those secret techniques that require bloodline limits to perform? What if you have a bloodline limit? The wood-style bloodline limit experiment is difficult to succeed because the cells of the first generation are too powerful. They will reject and devour the subject's own cells, causing the subject to directly turn into a tree and die. Other bloodline limits do not have this kind of hidden danger. Moreover, half a month ago, when Orochimaru was asking for research funds, he said that he had made significant progress in his research on bloodline limits. I have been able to transplant part of my bloodline limit. As long as you have the power of bloodline limit, are you afraid that you won't be able to learn those secret techniques that can make you immune to attacks? And learn those secret techniques. What if the head is attacked? Bloodline limit. Shimura Dan's eyes flickered. He could currently think of 3 bloodline limits that could provide immunity or resistance to physical attacks. The Tsunagoku clan's Magnet Style, which has extraordinary defensive power, the Take Torai clan's Dead Bone Pulse, which can harden the skull, the Hojumi clan's Water Transformation Technique, and the Ibri clan's Mist Transformation Technique. Although the Ibri clan lives in the Land of Fire, their bloodline limit has great flaws. Even the strongest of this clan only dared to live in underground caves, for fear of being killed by the wind when the mist turned into fog. The rest. Which one can Orochimaru transplant? Don't be disappointed, Danzo. There will always be a way to solve the problem. Sarutobi Hiruzen comforted Danzo again. He understands buddies. If this problem is not solved, Danzo's condition will be greatly affected. The current situation in the ninja world is not very optimistic, but we cannot let Danzo, the leader of the route, continue to be depressed because of these things. You're not leaving yet. Shimura Danzo raised his eyes and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen. If the problem isn't solved, what's the point of people staying here and talking nonsense? I'll sit here with you. We haven't had a good chat for a long time. Unnecessary. I understand you. Anyone who encounters this kind of thing will be affected in their mood, but we have been through all these years and have seen all kinds of storms. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to recall the glorious past, and his eyes softened again. Close the door on your way out. Shimura Danzo pointed at the twisted and deformed door on the ground, turned his head away and snorted, then urged impatiently again. Yamanaka Kei heard the conversation between the two and thought he was hallucinating. No. What scripts do you two usually play? Why does this line sound similar to the one I saw back then, the gentle CEO's proud wife? Damn it. If you two do this, I wish you a happy marriage. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt the burning gaze from the side, and turned to look at Tsunade who was crossing her arms and Yamanaka Kei who was looking up and counting parasites. You two, if you have nothing else to do, go back and rest. Close the door when you leave. Tisk Tsunade snorted in disdain. Pick up the door next to the bed that was almost beaten into scrap metal. With his incredible strength, he bent it back to its original shape in a snap. Although twisted creases can still be seen on the iron sheet, it should still be usable. System, hurry up, give brother, you smell good to Danzo, Sundara is out of the game, I don't want to see B. Yamanaka Kei saw that the third generation was not going to let him watch the fun anymore, so he quickly sent his blessings. When Danzo said to lead the door, the third generation remembered to let the disciples lead the door. It would be impolite not to send blessings. A white light quickly sank into Shimura Danzo's body. No one noticed. Shimura Danzo looked at the wall covered with parasitic bugs, was stunned for a moment, and suddenly began to reflect. Was I too rude to Hiruzen? Although this guy responded to the teacher's question first, causing him to miss the position of Hokage, he has never done anything to let him down in all these years. It wasn't Hiruzen who attacked him this time, so why take out his anger on his best friend? Bang! Tsunade pulled the slightly deformed door and forced it into the door frame. Casually dusting off his palms, Tsunade turned and walked away. Yamanaka Kei followed behind Tsunade, and got goosebumps when he thought about the possible plot in the future and the kissing picture of the third generation Danzo that had been widely circulated on the internet. Even though he had goosebumps, he couldn't suppress the curve at the corners of his mouth. When I walk, I just feel relaxed all over and my thoughts are clear. He weighs 8 kilograms. He was only away for a few days, and when he came back only 2 tails of ashes were left. The reason why Danzo didn't beat Dio was because he showed mercy. What's wrong with letting Danzo get hit twice by Dio? Just ask what's wrong? Chapter 60. The sound of raindrops outside the window has been falling for 3 days and 3 nights, just like you, my beloved, who haven't come home for 3 days and 3 nights. Yamanaka Kei sang the rain is still falling with the lyrics changed by himself, and walked briskly towards the Yamanaka clan's territory. The lyrics are so sad, but you're singing so happily. Are you deliberately disturbing me? Tsunade was interrupted several times for thinking, and slapped Yamanaka Kei's arm in annoyance. This little BD has no foresight at all. Didn't he see that she was thinking seriously about the problem? You don't understand, this is a sideline ditty. Yamanaka Kei rubbed the place where he was hit, and sighed inwardly that this sister's hand strength was really damn strong. If anyone tries to date someone like that in the future, I'll punch you in the chest with my little fist and you'll be kicked out on the spot, right? Oh, she has no partner. That's okay. Side job? Your barbecue restaurant plays this kind of music? Don't bother me while I'm thinking. Tsunade glanced at Yamanaka Kei, not bothering to deal with his nonsense. After forcing herself to take half a position under the umbrella, she bit her thumb and continued to think about the checklists that made her feel wrong. Eating nail polish is bad for your health. Can you take a beating? A big tic-tac-toe appeared on Tsunade's forehead, and she looked up and glared at Yamanaka Kei with gritted teeth. How many times? How many times has this happened? She wanted to concentrate on something, why was it so difficult? What's the matter? Tell me. I can help you think about it. Yamanaka Kei didn't take Tsunade's threat seriously at all. Joke. What is his current strength? It's okay to just play around normally, but if Tsunade really wants to get ruthless, he can knock Tsunade to the ground in a minute. Do you really think the red entry 0 frame start is just for show? Danzo's rejection report says something is wrong. Do you know what rejection is? Tsunade glared at Yamanaka Kei fiercely. She claims to be the second best in Konoha in medical ninjutsu, and no one dares to claim to be the best. Although the data in those examination reports showed small fluctuations, there were indeed certain rejection reactions. As described in the case report. These rejection reactions were simply caused by the fact that Danzo's right eye was destroyed in his early years and a prosthetic eyeball was implanted to prevent facial deformation. It seemed reasonable, and there were no major problems with the data, but Tsunade always had a lingering sense of disharmony. So she repeatedly considered the data, hoping to determine what was wrong. Without Uchiha's bloodline, but with a Sharingan installed, how is it possible that there is no rejection at all? Yamanaka Kei sneered and exposed Danzo's past without any concern. Danzo is indeed acting cautiously. The bandage wrapped around his head was attached with a sealing technique that could conceal his aura, which was enough to cover up the extremely special chakra aura of Sharingan. This time, in order to prevent Tsunade from noticing something was wrong when treating him, he directly dug out the Sharingan again. In addition, when he was in Konoha, this guy never used the Sharingan in front of others, so others naturally would not associate it in this direction. So for many years, this secret has remained undiscovered. However, rejection reactions cannot deceive people. Kakashi is so talented that even Mangeki was defeated, but isn't it because of the rejection reaction that he can't freely control the Sharingan's switch, resulting in not enough chakra in every battle? Sharingan? Are you sure? Tsunade's pupil shrank, her whole body shook 3 times, and she looked at Yamanaka Kei beside her in disbelief. Danzo? Sharingan? Where did he get the Sharingan? How is this possible? Isn't he afraid of facing the wrath of Uchiha after being exposed? How dare he? Don't look at me like that. He dug it out ahead of time so that you could get checked and treated. Who knew that you only looked at the medical records and the examination report and didn't do any further examination? It was all in vain. The smile on Yamanaka Kei's face widened a little. Regardless of whether Danzo was given anesthesia when he had his eyes dug out, the recovery period would definitely be painful. The body has been almost healed, it's time to put it back together. Suffering back and forth. Why can't I suppress the wild and unruly corners of my mouth? Are you sure? Tsunade obviously hadn't recovered from the shock yet and asked again. Believe it or not. Yamanaka Kei had no intention of explaining further. He was too lazy to tell others this because it was likely that no one would believe him. And even if Danzo was exposed in public, what would happen? It is true that the Uchiha Hawks are very crazy, but the doves are the ones who have the final say now, and most people in the tribe are doves. He had not experienced the targeting during the Third Ninja World War, nor had he been pushed to the edge of the village because of the Nine Tails Rebellion. There were no rumors circulating in the village, nor had he been frequently subjected to various unfair treatments. Even if Uchiha wanted to take back the 3 Tomo Sharingan, he would not choose to completely break off relations with Danzo, one of Konoha's top leaders. Given the other party's current status in the village, it is more likely that he will find an excuse to save face. For example, this is the eye that my close friend Uchiha Kagami gave me to protect Konoha. By getting certain benefits or promises from 3rd generation and Danzo, the matter can be resolved. Danzo, this damn old man, can't he just go home and lie down and wait to die? Tsunade cursed viciously. He almost couldn't help but turn around and beat Danzo so hard that he couldn't take care of himself. But she understood that people had already dug out the Sharingan. Without hard evidence in hand, she could do nothing to the other party. Moreover, the root ninjas will not sit idly by and watch their leader being beaten, and the 3rd generation old man will not sit idly by either. The root ninja is okay, but the 3rd generation old guy, she can't beat him. Damn it. Hey, just walk properly. Why are you staring at my feet? If you want to vent your anger, go find Jiraiya. Yamanaka Kei sensed Tsunade's increasingly dangerous gaze and glanced at her speechlessly. It's Danzo's fault, why are you mad at him? Who wants to find that pervert? You've peeked at my breasts so many times, so what's wrong with charging you some interest? Bang! A powerful and heavy stomping left spiderweb-like cracks on the ground. Yamanaka Kei's left foot also turned into water mist and exploded with this step. Unfortunately, neither simple physical skills nor the extraordinary strength that Tsunade was proud of could do any harm to the hydration technique. The next second, Yamanaka Kei's left foot had completely recovered thanks to the rain. In such a rainy environment, unless there is a large-scale lightning-style wash, few ninjas can hurt him in his hydrated state. Sister, when did I peek at you? If you do that again I'll sue you for defamation. Don't admit it. What am I admitting? I was watching it openly. There's nothing wrong with appreciating beautiful things. Tisk, just use your sweet talk to fool Kushina, but fooling me? You're still a little naive. Tsunade threw a flurry of punches, splashing water everywhere. Yamanaka Kei didn't even bother to dodge, letting the fists rain down on him, still sighing in his heart that this hydration technique was useless. Not only is it immune to physical attacks, but even clothes can be turned into water. Besides, who says sweet talk is useless? Tsunade's strength is obviously much weaker than the kick just now, okay? Haha woman. Go home and eat. Tsunade vented his anger, and after he was satisfied, he turned around and walked towards the direction of the Yamanaka clan. That's my home. Yamanaka Kei was not choked by Tsunade's words. But after hesitating for a while, he finally just complained in his heart. There is only one page left in someone's household registration book. Please be considerate. Please be considerate. Chapter 61. I sympathize with Tsunade, who will sympathize with me? Yamanaka Kei looked at Tsunade, who threw off her high heels, walked barefoot to the refrigerator to get a bottle of sake, and sipped it while urging Shadow Clone to cook, with a look of doubt on his face. Is this really his home? Then why did Tsunade take it for granted to sit at the dining table and urge him to cook? Shadow Clone glanced at Yamanaka Kei who was following behind Tsunade in confusion. I secretly guessed that something must have happened during the time when the main character and Tsunade went to Konoha Hospital together. Otherwise Tsunade wouldn't suddenly become Jiraiya's brother. Yet, very outgoing. Main body, come here. Shadow Clone couldn't figure it out, so he decided to give up meaningless thinking and turned into a ball of chakra smoke and disappeared on the spot. What would you like to eat, Tsunade-sama? Zihakuren's little head popped out from the kitchen, her ruby eyes full of admiration. Under the filter of an idol who is even more shameless than Tsunade, she only feels that Lady Tsunade is generous and magnanimous, and deserves the title of Konoha's #1 female ninja. I will eat whatever Kushina eats at noon. Tsunade rested her chin on one hand and swung the sake bottle in the other, throwing the question directly to Yamanaka Kei. This guy is thick-skinned and has a black heart, but he is pretty nice to Kushina. She didn't believe this guy could make Kushina anything unpalatable. No, you are so tough. Have you paid for the meal? Yamanaka Kei rolled his eyes in annoyance. Tisk, I'll bring you my second grandfather's water-style ninjutsu scroll later. Now hurry up and cook. Tsunade waved her hand nonchalantly. It fully demonstrates what it means to sell one's father's land without feeling any pain. Sister, please wait a moment. Yamanaka Kei changes his face in a fancy way. In the confused eyes of Might Guy and Genma Shiranui, she picked up her apron and went into the kitchen without saying a word. Senju Tobirama, a man who claims to have made a contract with the sea. How many people would not doubt their lives after seeing a ninja who can use sea style? The self-created water style. Water severing wave, water style. Heavenly cry, water style. Hard vortex water blade, are all extremely powerful and extremely practical. Yamanaka Kei has seen countless water style ninjutsu during his 5 years in the analysis class. But can those compare to Senju Tobirama's life's work? And so on learned the technique of Senju Tobirama. He also possesses the inheritance of second Mizukage Hojiki and second Hokage Senju Tobirama. Gaggg Mizukage, kneel down and I beg you for something. Yamanaka Kei was dreaming about a bright future, and when he saw the 3 little ones showing disgusted expressions as if they didn't want to acknowledge him as their teacher, he spoke unhappily. What are you daydreaming about? Guy, hurry up and knead the first bowl of dough that has already risen. I'll teach you a set of lost steel fist fighting techniques later. Have you heard of Bajiquan? Xianjian, get the steamer and chop the board to cut the dough and roll the dough. Do you want to learn the ninja techniques, flying needle mist and torpedo needle? If you want to, hurry up. Hong, come and learn how to make dumplings from the teacher. Make them well, and the teacher will teach you a trick of his own creation, the Shining Grudge Experience card. The Barbarian Yamanaka Kei, understand Yamanaka Kei, become Yamanaka Kei. Under the inducement of various ninjutsu, the three little ones worked so skillfully. Yui Kurane already had some basic cooking skills, and she quickly got the hang of it after just watching Yamanaka Kei demonstrate it twice. After becoming a little proficient, you can even chat while making buns. Teacher Jing, I heard that you have a magic that can make all those who are hit by it collapse and wail. Even the summoning beast will be in excruciating pain after being hit by it. Is it true? The little girl had a hopeful look on her face, and it was obvious that she wanted to learn this more than the Shining Grudge Experience card, which she had never heard of. Who told you that? Yamanaka Kei paused for a moment and asked with a strange look on his face. Among the illusions he created, there were many that could make the victims collapse and wail, but it seemed that only the third brother's ecstasy game could make the summoning beast suffer unbearable pain. As an advanced version of Little Flying Stick is coming, third brother's ecstasy will make the victim become the third sister-in-law being chased in the illusion. If you can't catch it, just keep chasing it. If you catch it, let the third brother hey. I was young and ignorant at the time, and I didn't know how to control my strength. I always feel that as long as the effect is good, and it can cause a mental attack on humans or animals and quickly break down the enemy's psychological defenses, nothing else matters. It's not possible now. I'm old and I have to save my face. I heard what Jiraiya-senpai said, did I say something wrong? Zihai blinked her big innocent eyes and asked timidly. She had heard from Senior Jiraiya that the difficulty of performing this ninjutsu was actually only B level, which was the same difficulty as the ninjutsu that her teacher was going to teach her, so she tried to ask. But it seems that she asked questions that she shouldn't have asked. Jiraiya that BD. Yamanaka Kei cursed with gritted teeth, feeling that Jiraiya had become more and more a villain in recent years. Because Minato had already become Jiraiya's disciple a long time ago, he and Jiraiya were not strangers to each other. One time, for some reason or another, Jiraiya wanted to experience his illusion. He just happened to have figured out this illusion and wanted to try out its effects. So, Jiraiya and his summoning beast became the first victims. Damn it! Isn't it just an illusion? It didn't really happen. Why did you hold a grudge against him for so long? He even went to his disciples and tried to tarnish the image of his teacher in a roundabout way? Papa ha ha ha, I remember now. You're talking about the technique that scares Jiraiya and the toads in Mount Maiboku, right? Hong, let me tell you about it. Ha ha ha. Tsunade slammed her hand on the table, laughing. The rolling waves and surging tides are particularly eye-catching. Recalling the scene where Jiraiya trembled whenever he saw Orochimaru for more than a month, and the green-skinned toad that changed its gender at Mount Maiboku. Tsunade laughed until she almost got a stitch in the side, but she couldn't stop. Yamanaka Kei frowned, wanting to stop Tsunade from continuing, but worried that the truth would explode even more when it came out of Jiraiya's mouth. After all, Jiraiya's luck was already negative for being able to come in front of his disciple and mention this illusion. The three little ones saw Tsunade laughing non-stop, and then looked at their teacher who turned his head away and concentrated on making dumplings. They knew they could hear this, so they all pricked up their ears. The past story between Jiraiya-senpai, one of the Sunin, and his teacher. It also involves Mount Maiboku, one of the three sacred sites for summoning beasts. I want to hear it, I love to hear it, Master Tsunade, please speak up. After Tsunade had finally laughed enough, she calmed down and slowly recounted what she had seen and heard that year. In fact, the story is not complicated. Jiraiya wanted to let summoningmen experience Yamanaka Kei's somewhat special illusion first, so he summoned a green-skinned toad named Toad Power from Mount Maiboku. This Toad Power was originally a clean male toad. Because he looked a little handsome, it was said that there were many female toads pursuing him in Mount Maiboku. As a summoning beast, Gamely naturally does not think that ordinary illusions can cause any harm to him. As a result, less than 3 seconds after the illusion was released, it exploded into a cloud of smoke and returned to Mount Maiboku. Jiraiya wanted to summon it again and help it remove the illusion, but was directly rejected. Driven by curiosity, the young Jiraiya couldn't help but let Yamanaka Kei experience this illusion for him. Then, with amazing willpower, Jiraiya managed to break free from the illusion on his own. In the following half-month, he would tremble whenever he saw Orochimaru, would fart whenever he squatted, and many pairs of pants were ripped and browned by him. If the old man from the third generation hadn't been unable to bear it any longer and had someone use illusion to do psychological counseling for him, God knows how long the situation would have lasted. As for Toad Force, when I saw her again a month later, she had become Toad Lee, with flaming red lips, a charming figure, and a big bow on her head. Has the same after effects as Jiraiya. It farts as soon as it squats, it farts as soon as it squats, the key is that it is a toad. Tsunade slapped her hands on the table and laughed as she spoke. Might Guy looked at his tights and felt horrified. Genma Shiranui also shivered several times with a look of disgust on his face. This sequelae is a bit scary. Chapter 62. Teacher. There was a gleam of anticipation in Zhaihong's big eyes. Although he didn't say anything, his expression said it all. She wants to learn this. Very much. Sigma, Might Guy and Genma Shiranui were so scared when they saw Yui Kurene's expression that they subconsciously moved a step further away. I just feel that the sunset glow in front of me seems so strange and scary. Oh my god. Teacher, this cannot be taught. If you learn this, it will be hard for you to find a boyfriend. Yamanaka Kei had a weird expression on his face. He really didn't want to bring harm to the new generation of Konoha. But Tender Bud obviously doesn't think so. Children who have just become genin naturally desire powerful strength. A genjutsu that could trouble Lord Jiraiya, one of the Sunin, for more than half a month. A genjutsu whose after effects even the toad of Mount Maiboku, one of the 3 sacred sites of the summoning beasts, could not withstand. If you can't beat me, why should you be my boyfriend? Teacher, please teach me. Zhaihong's cute little face was full of determination at this moment. She wants to become a female ninja as famous as Lady Tsunade in the ninja world. Boyfriend and all that, just stand back. Jiraiya, you are so damn good. There has never been a moment when Yamanaka Kei wanted to strangle Jiraiya as much as he did now. His future is like a bloody mandala. He is sexy and elegant, a charming and dangerous royal sister disciple. It seems that he is on a path of no return. If you learn one of his illusions, it would be like opening Pandora's box. God knows what will happen to Zhaihong in the future. Just think about the final ending of Yui Kurene in the original work. Yamanaka Kei suddenly realized. There's nothing wrong with not being able to find a partner for the time being. At least you won't become a widow unexpectedly. And with his current strength and the experience he gained from reading so many people's entries, he really has the confidence to train Zhaihong to become a talented person. I can't say that he almost kicked his way out of the finale like Might Guy in the original story, but there is no problem at all that the power of the illusion surpasses 3 Tomo Sharingan. As for whether he can match or even suppress Mangeki, that is not a question of his teaching, but depends on how hard Yui Kurene herself can work. Teacher. Zhaihong raised her little face and looked at her teacher's changing expression anxiously. I'll ask you one last time, are you really ready? If you learn this technique, you will have a lot to learn and a lot to lose. Yamanaka Kei took a deep breath and asked his little disciple. Third Brother's Ecstasy game is an advanced illusion that can severely affect both vision and touch. Although the training threshold is roughly the same as that of regular B-level ninjutsu, the upper limit is extremely high. Its basic principle is to trap the enemy in a maze-like predicament through means similar to the C-level illusion Fox Heart technique. At the same time, using the principle of the D-level illusion Narakumi technique, the target of fear in the victim's mind will appear and chase the opponent. In the end, the person who was hit by the spell was not so much captured by the 3 brothers as it was trapped in a state similar to the B-level illusion tree binding killing. He was conscious but unable to move or resist. At this point, the visual interference has been basically completed. In addition to continuing to provide visual impact, we must also begin to increase the intervention in tactile sensation. The sense of touch can affect many things in illusion, such as cold, hot, warm, painful, pressed, pulled, and pleasant. Yamanaka Kei has studied illusion for so long and feels that this is the most difficult to master. But if controlled well, touch is really a killer weapon. If Zhaihong wants to learn this technique, fine interference with the sense of touch is a must for her. Of course, more importantly, if you want to learn this technique, you must first learn how to avoid being rebounded by the enemy's illusion. Yui Kurene has a good talent for mental power, but it is far inferior to Yamanaka Kei. Therefore, the magic mirror of heaven and earth transformation is a must-learn, and the psychic bomb that can be embedded in the illusion and can be forcibly cracked and rebounded must also be learned. You can also try the dark technique combined with the sealing technique. Sealing techniques that are too difficult are hard to perform, but the ichidan formation taught in the ninja school should be fine. Teacher. I'm ready. Zhaihong's little head nodded, and her little face full of collagen turned slightly red because of excitement. If you can learn your teacher's most powerful tricks, becoming a master of illusion is just around the corner. How could she not be excited? Teacher Jing, is Bajikun powerful? The stone mill in Might Guy's hand shook violently, and the ground soy milk was put into the pot again to be boiled and filtered. He had heard of the ninjutsu that the teacher was going to teach Xianjian. They were 2 ninjutsu that were activated with 1,000 techniques and were very powerful. What he taught to Yui Kurane was a special skill that could cause great losses to the Sunin. Bajikun? He really had never heard of it. Tai Chi brings peace to the world, and Beiji brings order to the world. Do you know Tai Chi 8 trigrams? Gentle fist. Haiga. Haiga's gentle fist does have some shadows of Tai Chi, but it's far from it. Bajikun is a boxing style that is on par with Tai Chi, meaning that the power can reach far away places in all directions. Yamanaka Kei tells Might Guy the origin of Bajikun and some force-generating techniques. Thanks to the well-developed internet in his previous life, he really learned a lot of real things during his middle school years. Originally, he had forgotten most of these things as time passed. But the memory palace of the King of Ninja World made him remember it again. It's natural and logical to talk about it. Not to mention those boxing principles that are difficult to fully express in simple words, just the application of force of Bajikun to the head, shoulders, elbows, hands, tail, hips, knees and feet is enough to make Might Guy feel like he has found a treasure, and he wants to shake the millstone to produce sparks. Tsunade at the dining table didn't take it seriously at first. After all, Yamanaka Kei had never shown any extraordinary talent in taijutsu. But after listening for a while, she no longer dared to underestimate Bajikun. With his ears perked up, he memorized the key points of force and fighting techniques carefully. If this thing is combined with strange power. I don't know if her medical ninjutsu can save Jiraiya with just one move. Jiraiya, so, what did I do wrong? Big buns with freshly ground soy milk and carrot and pork filling, pork and green onion filling, or pork vermicelli filling. Pancakes with sausage and eggs, pancakes with fresh meat, pancakes with shrimps, and pancakes with crab roe. Finally, add the steaming duck blood vermicelli soup. Tsunade never raised her head from the table the entire time. Might Guy and Genma Shiranui's eating speed is just as fast as Tsunade's. They have a big bun in their left hand and a steamed dumpling in their right hand. Among the 3 little ones, only the little girl Zairihong has a slightly more elegant way of eating. No more praise is needed. Just the expressions of the crowd showed how amazing this meal was to them. However, the number of breakfasts that Yamanaka Kei can currently make is much more than just this. Besides, tomorrow's affairs have already been decided, and more than just 1 or 2 people need to come. So after taking a 1-hour break after lunch, everyone started to get busy again. Kushina didn't get home until after 2 o'clock. In order to participate in the food tasting and friends gathering, she forced herself to finish all her tasks for today and tomorrow. After filling her already hungry stomach, she joined the crowd with full energy. A variety of semi-finished delicacies were constantly produced by the 5 people. Tsunade went out for a while and returned home more than half an hour later with the water-style scroll of 2nd Hokage Senju Tobirama. As the storage seal is unlocked, Tsunade directly gave Yamanaka Kei a little Senju clan background shock. Wipe. No more about Senju Tobirama water-style scrolls. I never thought there would be so many. Chapter 63. Various scrolls and books filled up half of the study, which was a spectacular sight at first glance. The water-style scroll that Tsunade brought back this time not only contains the water-style jutsu created by Senju Tobirama. There are also a large number of water-style training manuals passed down by the early Senju clan. There are also countless insights into training and ninjutsu development left by predecessors, as well as some random notes left when a flash of inspiration came. Reorganized and annotated by Senju Tobirama. These things are enough to make any ninja who practices water style excited. But Tsunade seems to arrange garbage. She just threw them there, dusted off her hands, and went back to her room to continue developing her ninjutsu. Sister, you are so generous. Just tell me what you want to eat next time. Yamanaka Kei offered his flattery without hesitation. Things like this, which are enough to support the foundation of a ninja family, cannot be measured by money. This is the foundation that can ensure a family's inheritance and stability. As long as this thing exists, even if the descendants are poorly gifted, mediocre, and incompetent, the family will continue to decline. But as long as a person with decent talent appears, the family can rise rapidly with this inheritance and continue to survive. Tsunade's great gift came crashing down. If Yamanaka Kei didn't still have some moral integrity left, she would have hugged the other person's thighs and sang sister's song to her on the spot. Of course, if it really does that. I don't know if the little pepper Kushina will explode into Yamanaka Kei, but Tsunade will definitely do so. This sister has never been a good-tempered person. She has a complete and highly effective method for dealing with LSBs who dare to take advantage of her. Yamanaka Kei temporarily suppressed the random thoughts in his mind and the urge to dive into the study, looking around inside until the day was dark, and began to seriously replicate various delicacies. He just came back from a mission yesterday. Unless there is some urgent task that requires his involvement, it can only be completed. Otherwise, considering Konoha's current workload and the third-generation style of doing things, it would take at least 10 days or half a month to assign him a task next time. He has plenty of time to slowly absorb the experience and knowledge left by his predecessors. By the way, Kushina, how is Nine Tails doing today? Yamanaka Kei recalled the prank he played on Nine Tails yesterday, which nearly caused that guy to go berserk, and asked with some concern. Don't worry, I have given it good guidance today, it is smiling very happily, goose, goose, goose. When Kushina mentioned this, she laughed like a goose. However, it can be seen that the current Nine Tails is unable to cause any waves as her strength continues to increase and she uses a variety of methods to assist in suppressing it. Don't always bully Nine Tails. That old fox has it tough. You were the one who bullied it yesterday. Today, it has even started to imitate the swear words in your illusion. I remember there is a sealing technique, it should be called sealing technique. Well, the level is a bit low, and the seal is not strong enough. Nine Tails broke it open with a little force. Anoka will be here tomorrow, so you can work on an upgraded version together. Hey? 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 Can Anoka come over here? Don't worry, she went to be questioned by Anbu reverse hypnosis today. No one will say anything after the questioning. Anoka is so nice. Yamanaka Kei and Kushina chatted non-stop, and their hands cooperated tacitly in handling the various ingredients. The three kids stared blankly at the harmonious appearance of the two people. They felt that this huge kitchen had suddenly become crowded for some reason. Konoha Hospital. Orochimaru pushed open the door to the ward where Danzo was staying. Looking at the door that was in his hand and would fall down if he let go, the corner of his eye twitched unconsciously. Whose front door doesn't even have a screw and opens straight forward? Glancing at the slightly deformed door frame and the door with many creases, he remembered that today was the day Tsunade was going to treat Danzo, and he understood. After he walked into the ward carrying the door, several Madara pythons emerged from the sleeve of his right hand and re-embedded the door into the door frame. It looks like Danzo-sama is having a very exciting day today. The python that came out of the cuff slowly retreated and disappeared. The corners of Orochimaru's mouth rose slightly, and his originally cold temperament revealed a bit of evil and joy. He was sure that Tsunade hadn't been able to solve the problem with Danzo either. But Tsunade should have given this guy some kind of inspiration, otherwise he wouldn't be so impatient to call him to Konoha Hospital to meet him. I need an ability that can completely resist or be immune to this kind of attack. Danzo didn't bother to pay attention to Orochimaru's teasing. He just wanted to solve his problem quickly. Hiruzen is a person who is always indecisive and lacks the courage and toughness of a Hokage. The situation in the ninja world is tense right now. If something happens to him, Hiruzen might not be able to cope with the situation that follows. Body modification, bloodline limits. Orochimaru's eyes flashed, and his long tongue licked the corner of his mouth, immediately understanding Danzo's thoughts. Magnet style, dead bone pulse, and the bloodline limit of the Hojiki clan, what is the success rate? Danzo stared at Orochimaru's snake pupils with his sinister eyes, waiting for his answer. We are not sure about the magnet style. We don't have any test subjects for the magnet style. The Take Torai and Hojumi clans have about 30% of them at the moment. Too low. I need more test subjects, more samples of bloodline limits. Orochimaru suppressed his inner excitement and remained as stern as usual. He knew that his experiment could not be separated from Danzo's support. This time, he has seized the moment when Danzo needs him the most, and the support he will receive will be unprecedented. And this is enough to make his dream take a big step forward. Eternal life. It's really fascinating and desirable stuff. I don't have much patience. As long as the experimental subjects are in place, within a month, at most a month, I will be able to raise the success rate to over 80%. I hope you'll keep your promise. Denzo tapped the back of his left hand with his right index finger. The threatening words did not make Orochimaru feel unhappy or flustered at all. After all, he lied. He doesn't really have much data on magnet-style Kekii Genkai, so it's difficult to estimate the approximate success rate of the transplant. The bamboo clan's dead bone pulse is also extremely overbearing, and its success rate in the past was indeed only around 30%. However, the bloodline limit of the Kizuna clan is not an explicit ability-based bloodline limit. If he just obtains the qualifications to learn the water transformation technique, he will already have more than 80% chance of success. After all, his good friend Hokuriko is far more obsessed with bloodline limits than he is. After years of experimentation and accumulation, we have developed relatively mature bloodline limit transplantation methods in a complete theoretical basis. Ghost Bud Luo technique. That's a pretty good ninjutsu. If Hiriko hadn't wanted to go a step further and fuse multiple bloodline limits to gain power that surpasses bloodline limits and bloodline elimination at once, that guy may have already obtained power that is unimaginable for ordinary people. What a greedy guy. Same as me. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Orochimaru withdrew his thoughts, glanced at the door embedded in the door frame, and decisively chose to jump out of the window and leave. This is a broken door, whoever wants to leave can leave. Chapter 64. The party hosted by Yamanaka Kei attracted more people than he expected. Except for Narashikaku, Akamichi Choza, Yamanaka Inoichi, and their respective wives. Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Anoka also brought Hitaki Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, and Nohara Lin to eat and drink together. Of course, according to them, this was to thank Yamanaka Kei for his help yesterday. In addition to them, there are Abarame Shiwei and his wife Abarame Jiminami who were invited by Yamanaka Hai, and Uchiha Mikoto and Inyazuka Tsumuji who were called by Kushina. And Jiraiya who showed up uninvited. Kushina pulled Anoka, Mikoto, Tsunade, and Inyazuka Tsumuji around the dining table, eating and chatting, looking extremely happy. In the living room on the other side, the Inoshika CH trio and Abarame's Highway sat together and chatted quite naturally. Under the organization of Nara Yoshino, the wives of the group went up to the second floor, where they enjoyed delicious food, had drinks, and chatted, feeling comfortable and relaxed. Might Guy, Genma Shiranui, and Kurane Yui, along with Kakashi, Obito, and Rin Nohara, were also freed after completing the final processing of a large amount of semi-finished food and serving it to the table. The six of them set up a large table on the lawn in the mansion courtyard and began to enjoy the various delicacies of Eight Gate. Obito, who had been drooling with greed for a long time, began to inhale violently without any image. Might Guy seemed to be full of energy and competed with Obito in eating. Kakashi and Shiranui Genma, as rare normal people, sat together quietly, enjoying the delicious food leisurely. Nohara Lin and Yui Kurane put their two little heads together, whispering non-stop, and occasionally let out a string of silver bell-like laughter. That's great! Yamanaka Kei held on to the railing of the third-floor balcony with both hands, looking at the six energetic children downstairs, listening to their jokes and laughter, and felt that this was how life should be. Ha ha ha, I always thought you didn't like crowds. Jiraiya walked to Yamanaka Kei's side with a bottle of shaku, leaned on the railing with one hand, and took a sip of shaku with the other hand. Jiraiya-senpai, I suddenly remembered that I have a debt to settle with you. Yamanaka Kei turned to look at Jiraiya. This guy actually took advantage of his absence from Konoha to lead his adorable little disciples astray. Haven't we settled our share of the money from the auction of the summoning beast? Senior, you know what I'm talking about. Come to the training cave and serve as my sparring partner for 2 days, and I'll let this go. Can you first tell me what I did? Jiraiya froze for a moment, then pretended to look confused. Namikaze Minato, who was about to come up and talk, turned around smoothly and decided to take this opportunity to have a good talk with his disciple. Kakashi's psychological problems still need more counseling. How many immoral things have you done? Ha ha ha, how is it possible? Okay, I just told your disciples about your glorious achievements, and what else? Ahem, I used your face to fight someone before returning to the village. Hey? Fighting with my face? Are you sure you mean a serious fight? With who? Absolutely serious. The opponent is the chief of Nadeshiko village. FKU. Jiraiya. You are a real dog. If the ancestors of the Inyazuka clan could know you, there would be no point in having ninja dogs. Yamanaka Kei's teeth were almost broken, he really wanted to strangle Jiraiya to death. Nadeshiko village is relatively well known in the ninja world, not because the ninjas there are so powerful, but because it is a pure country of women. As a purely matriarchal village, the village's reproduction depends entirely on defeating the strong and allowing the strong to marry into the village. Basically, they are the strong ones who are favored by them. After being defeated, she was carried directly back to the village bridal chamber. As for those who they cannot defeat, unless the gap in strength is really too big and there is no hope at all, otherwise they will just have to wait and continue to be challenged. Jiraiya, this guy, actually went to fight with the head of Nadeshiko village with his face on. What's the difference between this and catching the bouquet with his face facing her and then running away? Is this something a human can do? You are one of the Sunin after all, could you please not set the bar high for being a human being like this? Ha ha ha, I won the fight, and the other party also knows that I used the transformation technique. It's okay, no problem. Jiraiya scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. When you are out, you always have to change your identity to gather intelligence. Yamanaka Kei's face is really a powerful tool for obtaining information. It would be a waste if we don't make good use of it. Who knew that he would be targeted by the chief of Nadeshiko village, Nadeshiko Yoshio? 3 days of sparring. Yamanaka Kei has secretly decided to beat Jiraiya to death during sparring. It's not to vent anger. I simply feel that purifying the ninja world is everyone's responsibility. No problem. As long as you don't use those inhuman illusions, it's totally fine. I won't use any illusion this time. Ahem, actually it's not completely unusable. I think the illusion called Send UAT has a very high tactical value. Yamanaka Kei admitted that he had underestimated Jiraiya's shamelessness. The illusion of giving UAT was originally created just for fun with the intention of playing a prank on someone. Use illusions to arouse the most basic desires of people's hearts and bodies. Then let Aizawa, Sakura, Ishihara, Karai, Hashimoto, Hatano, Aragaki, Hamasaki, and other third-generation artists take turns to perform. How to say it? When encountering a normal female ninja, this illusion has basically no effect except making the person blush. But against an LSP like Jiraiya, if Yamanaka Kei dares to use it, Jiraiya will dare to enjoy it, and he is the type who will never remove the illusion himself even if he is beaten. Even if his nose was bleeding profusely and he was losing blood so severely that he had to go to Konoha Hospital for emergency treatment. Even after waking up, my pants will be 3 or 2 pounds heavier than before. On the degree of lust, Yamanaka Kei feels that no one in the entire ninja world can match him. Name, Jiraiya. Occupation, ninja/writer. Entries, Teacher of Destiny, purple, one of the Sunin, purple, Summoner, purple, Hero of the Ninja World, blue, Literary Man, white, Easy, white, Rise to Action at the CK of the Rooster, white. Is it strong? Yes. The Teacher of Destiny not only greatly enhances Jiraiya's teaching ability, but also improves the ability to control water, fire, earth, wind, yin and yang, 6 attribute escape techniques, as well as secret techniques and sealing techniques, and also adds the luck of destiny. Before the disciple is taught well, he has destiny on his shoulders, so he can do whatever he wants. While strengthening one's own strength, one of the Sunin creates a deterrent to the enemy and improves his reputation internally. The Summoner is a powerful term that can greatly enhance the tacit understanding with the summoning beast, reduce the consumption of summoning-type ninjutsu, and perfectly develop the potential of the summoning beast. The heroes of the ninja world have increased personal charm, spiritual will, and personal beliefs, and improved resistance to illusions and influence on others. If you only look at these few entries, Jiraiya is undoubtedly an extremely strong and charismatic ninja. But who is the good guy with 3 white entries? The effect of white entries is basically a mixture of positive and negative effects. It's not that their amplification effects are not strong, but the negative effects are too bad. A literary man, his improved writing skills are enough to make Jiraiya a famous writer in the ninja world, but his writings will not be popular unless they sell erotic content. An easy one, with added physical talent, can make people more energetic, but they will raise their heads at the slightest stimulation. As for getting up at the sound of the CK crow, it almost completely eliminates the interference of negative emotions such as depression, autism, and fear, but the prerequisite is to often watch things you like, otherwise your mind will be full of garbage. Jiraiya, you are lucky to be a ninja. You can write some essays occasionally to reduce the probability of crime among the people. Otherwise, you will be of no benefit to this society. Yamanaka Kei looked at Jiraiya sincerely. Chapter 65. The original intention was just to prepare for the opening of the store and to have a gathering to taste various breakfasts, but in the end it turned into a carnival for a group of young ninjas. Uchiha Mikoto, Inyazuka Tail, and Anoka, after cooperating with Kushina, worked together to get Tsunade drunk, and then said goodbye and left as evening approached. Narashikaku, Akamichi Choza, Yamanaka Inoichi, and Abaramaze Highway drank until after 8 o'clock in the evening. In the end, they all got drunk and passed out. They were all carried back home by their wives. Yui Kurane, Nohara Rin, and the other 6 little ones didn't leave until they had cleaned up the messy living room and kitchen before they said goodbye and left obediently. As for Jiraiya, Yamanaka Kei was too busy tongue-fighting with the drunken and adorable Kushina to think about that guy. If it weren't for Namikaze Minato and Anoka feeling something was wrong after returning home, they would have thought about it for a long time and finally remembered that there was such a teacher. I made a special trip back and used the Flying Thunder God technique to send him to the training cave. Jiraiya might have to lie on the 3rd floor balcony all night. The mansion, which was noisy during the day, fell into silence after everyone left. Kushina, who was drunk, flirted with Yamanaka Kei for a short while before she was completely exhausted and fell asleep in his arms. Yamanaka Kei glanced at the guest room where Tsunade was. After sighing, he reluctantly sent Kushina back to her room and settled her down, then turned around and went into the study. With the improved speed reading ability and amazing memory from King of the Ninja World, he flipped through the many scrolls and tomes that Tsunade had brought back. As one of the 2 heroes of Sengoku, the Senju clan's research on water style is beyond the reach of most families. They have already made great use of the nature transformation and morphological changes of water style. In addition to the 5-8 gate ninjutsu, there are many scrolls that are further research on how to release more chakra and create more powerful ninjutsu in a shorter time and with fewer hand seals. After all, most of the ninjas of the Senju clan are born with a good amount of chakra due to their bloodline. Using force to break all methods and using force to defeat cleverness is the most suitable way for them. Therefore, even the high compression and high rotation ninjutsu such as second Hokage Senju Tobirama's water severing wave and hard vortex water blade consume astonishingly high energy consumption. Of course, these scrolls do not come without records on how to reduce chakra consumption. However, Yamanaka Kei feels that the ancestors of the Senju clan were somewhat perfunctory in their research on this aspect. It gives me a sense of déjà vu that the high chakra consumption is not my problem, but yours. In comparison, the inheritance of the Kizuna clan is clearly more inclined towards how to create greater lethality with less consumption. Although it seems stingy, it is undoubtedly more friendly to ordinary ninjas. Water cannon technique is the most representative ninjutsu among them. Condensing a bullet-sized water ball, it can be used to attack Arankar in order to achieve ultimate lethality in a small area. Hey? The principle of this water bullet is similar to that of the water cannon. It doesn't even require the water transformation technique as a foundation, and the starting point is more than a dozen water bullets. Chakra really doesn't cost money. Yamanaka Kei had just praised the water style of the Kizuna clan in his mind when the Senju seniors gave him a lesson. Apart from the slightly higher chakra consumption, the principle of the water cannon has been completely analyzed. The ancestors of the Senju clan even used similar principles to create a ninjutsu with a larger range and greater lethality. The corrosiveness of the water style, this is considered the pre-nature transformation of the lava style. Wouldn't Miss Shinobi vomit blood after seeing this? Water style deformation attempts, various test attempts on high and low temperature water style. Sharp, twisted, turbulent, corrosive, heavy, agile, gentle. Wave riding attack, can move freely in water. Used with the water transformation technique, it can be used to sneak in, attack, and escape underwater. Water blade slash, attach a layer of high-speed rotating water blades to the surface of the ninja tool. It should be effective when used on Kunao. Do I have a ninja sword? Yamanaka Kei's original idea of reading 2 ninjutsu scrolls and going to bed before midnight became a joke in front of the Senju clan's collection. Even as a time traveler like him, he couldn't help but be amazed when he saw some quite innovative conjectures and attempts. Who would have thought that hundreds of years ago, the elders of the Senju clan had thought of using water style's nature transformation to drive power and achieve a stacked wave effect similar to that in martial arts novels. After a punch is thrown, the subsequent force is accumulated layer by layer, directly increasing one's own strength several times or even dozens of times. If it weren't for the requirement of chakra control, it would even be above super strength. Who can stop the Senju clan? No words were spoken that night. The next morning the sun illuminated the study room brightly. Yamanaka Kei just came back to his senses from the numerous scrolls. Glancing at the clock on the study wall, which had already pointed to 8 o'clock, he put down the scroll in his hand and went to wash up. I made a few breakfasts with the leftover ingredients from yesterday and filled my stomach. Yamanaka Kei glanced at the still silent bedroom, packed a breakfast, left a sticky note, then got up and left the house, heading towards the training cave. Although he hadn't slept all night, his extraordinary mental strength meant that he didn't feel much fatigue. I made an appointment with Jiraiya yesterday to have a 3-day sparring session. It's never a good idea to be late on the first day. The training cave is located northwest of Konoha village, exactly opposite to the Konoha bird summoning beast breeding house. In order to acquire the land near the training cave, Jiraiya worked hard in the village for a long time and spent a lot of his own royalties. Later, Minato often followed Jiraiya to practice here and also fell in love with this place. Over the past few years, the two have invested funds intermittently. The caves originally on the cliff have become exquisitely shaped wall-mounted buildings, and the wasteland under the cliff has become pavilions and lakes. At first glance, it looks like a paradise. The falcon and the eagle slowly descended from the sky. Yamanaka Kei's perception ability was unlocked, and he saw Jiraiya sleeping soundly in the largest building in the center of the cliff. He shouted at the top of his lungs as he jumped off the back of Pidgeot. There's a pervert peeping into the women's bathhouse. Catch him! Boom! Bang! Jiraiya shot out of the room without even opening his eyes. After stepping into empty air, it drew a beautiful arc and crashed directly into the lake below the cliff, causing splashes of water all over the sky. Kei, can't you be more gentle like Minato? Jiraiya gathered chakra behind him and lay on the water with a look of pain on his face. Isn't it good to wake people up normally? This shout almost scared him to death. The warm man is behind the dog, whoever wants to be the one can be the one, hurry up and start eating. The residents of the Yamanaka clan. After a hangover, Kushina scratched her cheek which was a little itchy from the sun, and after realizing that a lot of time had passed, she sat up from the bed with a start. With a pair of big eyes, she looked at the furnishings in the guest bedroom and the suspenders on her body, then lifted the quilt and took a look at her pants. Ah Kushina, you are so disappointing. Kushina puffed up her little face and angrily slapped her smooth thigh, making herself gasp. The atmosphere was there last night. Even if Sister Tsunade is still at home, can she rush out to see? How come I lost my memory? Even if I could just hold on for a few more minutes. Drinking will cause trouble, drinking will cause trouble. Starting today, quit drinking. Chapter 66. Boom. The explosion of water blocked the view. Yamanaka Kei was affected by the recoil force and flew backwards along the water surface. He twisted his waist and swung his arms, then delivered an elbow strike behind him, knocking a toad that took the opportunity to attack him back into the water, then used the force to turn over. His feet drew long traces of water on the water surface. Without waiting for his body to stop, he clapped his hands suddenly and activated the ninjutsu again. Water style. Mist shinobi technique. Thick mist rose up in the blink of an eye. Yamanaka Kei sucked his gums hard and was about to wipe some of the blood from his gums to use the summoning technique to summon a mirage to give Jiraiya a little mirage shock, but his movements suddenly stopped. Didn't he say yesterday that he wouldn't use illusions? Hateful. This mouthful of blood from the gums was sucked in vain. Quickly seal with both hands. Yamanaka Kei changed his tactics again, using the ninjutsu he had learned from the Senju clan's inheritance scroll last night. Water style. Wave ride. His lack of ninjutsu proficiency prevented him from skipping the hand seals, but the top-level chakra control brought by the red entry zero frame start and the understanding of water style brought by the purple entry water style master still allowed his ninjutsu release speed to far exceed that of ordinary Jainin. As water style, wave rider was performed, Yamanaka Kei dived into the water quickly like a swimming fish. The use of the water transformation technique also made his figure disappear directly from the sight of several Mount Maiboko toads that were waiting in the water for an opportunity to strike. Young people nowadays really have no sympathy for their elders. Jiraiya wiped the sweat from his forehead, and the iron-armed toad under his feet began to move constantly to guard against possible surprise attacks from all around. From the beginning till now, he has been suppressed and his several counterattacks have ended in failure. Even though he had summoned 8 toads from Mount Maiboku to help, it still couldn't change the fact that he was gradually losing the upper hand. This is the result of Yamanaka Kei never using illusion. If you let go completely. Quack, quack, quack underwater. Disappeared. No trace left. Quack. The sound of frogs croaking came through the mist of mist shinobi technique. Jiraiya was startled, and leaped into the air while quickly forming seals with his hands. In this situation, the mist shinobi technique severely obstructed his vision, while Yamanaka Kei's perception was not affected at all in this thick fog. If he wanted to pull back the tilted balance of victory and defeat between the two, simply solving the mist shinobi technique would only make him more passive. Because whether using wind style to blow it away or fire style to evaporate it, it will require several times the chakra of mist shinobi technique, and Yamanaka Kei will not sit idly by and watch him easily solve mist shinobi technique. Then we can only. Boundary, sky canopy array. Bang. Bang. The perception barrier centered on Jiraiya has just unfolded. Standing on the water, the iron-armed toad responsible for blocking the enemy smashed its arms hard into the water. The suddenly rising water dragon collided with the iron-armed toad, and the powerful impact caused a huge bowl-shaped depression to explode on the water surface. The force exceeded its limit, causing the iron-armed toad to turn directly into chakra smoke and return to Mount Maiboku. However, Yamanaka Kei's momentum for underwater attack was directly suppressed. Give Jiraiya a chance to catch his breath. Here you go. Jiraiya was delighted and was about to take the opportunity to launch a counterattack, but the perception of the barrier, the sky canopy array, made his eyes twitch. 2 crows were circling above his head, and 4 small puppets, only half a person's height, were silently hiding in the mist shinobi technique, blocking the space around him. And Yamanaka Kei himself, after beating the iron-armed toad back to Mount Maiboku, was already standing quietly on the water, waiting for him to jump into the trap. There is no way to heaven and no door to earth. He was sure that no matter what kind of counterattack he made, he would be faced with a violent storm of attacks the next moment. I give up. Stop. Stop. Jiraiya shouted loudly, not caring about his face at all. There was no other way. He was really afraid that if he shouted too slowly, Yamanaka Kei, this unethical guy, would use the mind and body chaos technique on him and control him to perform another pure land of bliss. That thing, when the little girl jumps, his eyes will pop out. If you dance by yourself. If you don't want to recall, stop here. Yamanaka Kei exhaled a breath of foul air and casually released the thick mist of mist shinobi technique. The 2 crows flying in the sky cawed twice, then turned into chakra smoke and returned to the breeding house. 4 small puppets that were half the height of a person returned to his side under the control of the mind-transforming clone technique. He took out the previous storage seal scroll from the left chest of Janin's vest and sealed the 4 small puppets again. Yamanaka Kei sat directly on the water, thinking about the problems revealed in the recent fight. First, the issue of ninjutsu proficiency. The ninjutsu I learned from the scroll passed down by the Senju clan last night was very effective, but I still need to practice it more. Not to mention performing the seal, at least you should clap your hands and shout and whatever you say will come true. We can't waste the bonus effect brought by 0 frame start. There are also physical techniques. With the bonus of the Hojiki clan's Hao Shui Wan technique, use the moves from the previous life in the memory palace. The power that erupted was stronger than he had imagined. Just now, he used the water style wave riding strike to accelerate underwater, and used the water arm technique to amplify the iron mountain backrest, and directly blew up the iron arm toad. If I could master the wave stacking technique centered on water style that I saw last night, I'm afraid he will be able to compete with the tailed beasts in strength like third Raikage AI. Of course, there is the most important point. Fighting habits. His current sparring with Jiraiya is actually a rehearsal for his later visit to Uchiha Madara. That's why he took the initiative to suggest not using illusion yesterday afternoon. After all, even if Uchiha Madara had transplanted the Rinnegan into Nagato, his eye power was definitely not weaker than the eternal Mangeki Sharingan. If illusion is used against someone, the effect would be hard to describe. Therefore, he must change his habit of wanting to use illusion from the beginning. Well, finally, Flying Thunder God. After practicing with Jiraiya, Minato also wanted to pull him over to fight, and then adapt to the high-intensity Flying Thunder God flashes to fully exert the effect of 0 frame start. And when you finish this, Madara, Hassie's mom is gone, how about letting my enhanced version of Toby's mom dance with you? He Yamanaka Kei grinned, looking forward to meeting Uchiha Madara even more. You're a monster, boy. Jiraiya walked over and sat down next to Yamanaka Kei. He has never been the kind of person who can't stand losing. On the contrary, he is happier and more relieved than anyone else to see young people surpass him. If only Konoha could have more young people like Yamanaka Kei. Wouldn't it be better for him to just travel around the ninja world and save those poor young ladies who have gone astray? You could have fought back just now, right? You could have completely wrapped yourself up with the needle Jizo, or swallowed yourself with the toad, and then removed the summoning spell once the toad fell into the water. Yamanaka Kei looked at Jiraiya on the side, not taking the other's compliment too seriously. The fight between the two just now did look thrilling. Jiraiya was indeed suppressed by him throughout the whole process. But the reason for this situation was, firstly, that this guy underestimated him at the beginning and lost the first move, and secondly, he misjudged the intelligence. Even if he doesn't use illusion now, he has no shortage of powerful means of attack. As for the final surrender, Jiraiya's jump into the air was indeed a big mistake. No matter how he resisted, he would be at a greater disadvantage. But this guy obviously has some reservations, whether it's the hand seals with his feet in the original work, or the high-powered combined ninjutsu with the Mount Maiboko toads. If you really want to fight back, you are not completely without chance. The move you just used to hit Iron Arm Toad was comparable to Tsunade's super strength. Who would use a needle Jizo to block it? Besides, summoning men will feel pain when injured. It's just a sparring match. Jiraiya smiled and waved his hand. He had always regarded the toads of Mount Maiboko as companions and friends, so he could not use the summoning beasts as tools. As for taking on a move that was comparable to supernatural strength, he still feels pain in his ribs when he thinks back to the punch Tsunade gave him, so he won't try this again. How's your Sage Mode learning going? Next topic. You really are. Yamanaka Kei was speechless. Is this Sage Mode that difficult? Don't even want to mention it. Chapter 67. For 3 consecutive days, Yamanaka Kei came to the training cave early every morning to practice with Jiraiya. When your chakra is depleted, take a soldier pill to recover quickly. If you are injured, use medical ninjutsu to heal yourself. I would wait until the sun completely sets before returning home exhausted and continue to study the water-style heritage of the Senju clan in the evening. Thanks to his own strong comprehension and learning ability, as well as the blessing of Jiraiya's purple entry teacher of destiny. Over the past 3 days, he gradually began to absorb into himself the combat experiences he had read and recorded from other ninjas' memories during his 5-year career in the analysis class, as well as those dazzling water-style ninjutsu. Whether it's the choice of ninjutsu, grasp of timing, or response of moves and combat rhythm, they are all completely different from before. Jiraiya thought that after gradually understanding Yamanaka Kei's ninjutsu and trump cards, he would have an absolute upper hand in the battle between the two. Who knew that the idea was beautiful, but the reality was so real that it was scary. If he is not careful, he, one of the dignified Sunin, the heroic Jiraiya, will have to perform Pure Land of Bliss, Majestic, Love Cycle, watching covetously in front of the training cave. It would be fine if Yamanaka Kei was the only one here. But on the afternoon of the first day of their sparring, Namikaze Minato brought Hitaki Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, and Nohara Lin to join in the fun. Yamanaka Kei's 3 young disciples also began practicing nearby that afternoon. Kushina and the little girl named Anoka would come on time every day at noon with their lunch boxes. And once you come here, you won't leave. They would not go home together until the evening with their boyfriends. What a BD! It is true that he likes to collect materials, but he doesn't want to be used as a material. In order to avoid dancing in public, which would make one's face turn red. In the next 2 days, he did not let down his guard at all, but the outcome remained unchanged. He didn't faint immediately after seeing the black screen, it was because he was strong inside. 3 days passed. Without saying a word, Jiraiya packed up his things and ran to Mount Maiboko to practice. Is Sage Mode difficult to learn? No matter how difficult it is, you must learn it. He is a great man. He is. He doesn't deserve those titles he has. I feel like Mr. Jiraiya won't be back in the near future. Namikaze Minato looked at the clothes and toiletries that had been cleared out of the mansion where Jiraiya usually lived, and truly felt his teacher's firm belief this time. Did we laugh too loudly earlier? Nohara Lin looked at Yui Kurane, who was holding hands with her, somewhat helplessly. Yui Kurane shook her head, her expression also somewhat uneasy, and could only look at her teacher. Don't take the blame on yourself. I'm the one directing him to dance, and I haven't said anything yet. Yamanaka Kei rubbed the heads of the two little girls, one in each hand. Jiraiya-senpai's dance is still very beautiful, it's a pity that we can't see it today. Uchiha Obito wiped the lenses of his goggles and felt that what Mr. Jing said made a lot of sense. But I still feel regretful in my heart. He hasn't been able to memorize all those dance moves yet. If, he meant if in the future, he and Xylan were together. If Xylan dances for him. You have a nosebleed. Hitaki Kakashi's dead fish eyes swept over Obito's increasingly obscene expression. He coldly reminded this guy who was always a little bit stupid. He really couldn't understand it. Why would anyone get a nosebleed when thinking about Jiraiya dancing? Is this really not a pervert? I just recently. Obito wiped the blood from his nose, his face flushed red, and he wanted to explain but couldn't find a reason for a moment. When I saw your urine was so yellow yesterday, I knew you were suffering from internal heat. This is youth at full power. Might Guy slapped Obito on the shoulder, bared his teeth and gave him a thumbs up. Obito looked at the Might Guy who was speaking in disbelief. No. Is there really no other reason, brother? It's normal to get angry during puberty. Shiranui Genma let out a click of the tongue while holding a senbon in his mouth, and his eyes quickly swept between Nohara-rin and Obito. As a smart outsider, he has seen it all. Namikaze Minato and Yamanaka Kei look at each other and laugh. Youth is inherently restless and passionate. They have all been through this age before, so how could they not know what's going on in these little ones' minds? Okay, enough joking, let's get ready to start today's training. Yamanaka Kei clapped his hands, drawing the attention of Might Guy and the others. Yes. The three little ones responded immediately. Might Guy immediately started running around the training cave. Kurane Yui and Genma Shiranui maintained the standard triangle formation of the ninja team and began to follow Might Guy's footsteps. Thanks to the effect of Kushina's improved continuous limb heavy seal. The three little ones have recently seen varying degrees of growth in physical strength. The exercise effects that originally took several hours to achieve now only take less than an hour. Apart from Might Guy, who had to train extra hard to further enhance his physical skills, Kurane Yui and Genma Shiranui devoted almost all of their remaining time to the practice of new ninjutsu. Keep working hard on your training today. Namikaze Minato also gave Kakashi and the others some encouragement. The three people who had already gotten used to this rhythm in the past few days also began their own practice. To Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato. Start. Yamanaka Kei raised an eyebrow, a kunao flying nimbly at the fingertips of his right hand. Don't play me anymore. Namikaze Minato also took out his flying thunder god kunao. There was a rare seriousness and earnestness on his handsome face. During these 3 days, he saw everything that happened between his best friend and his teacher. He couldn't figure it out. How could this good friend of mine be so good at hiding? Family secrets, illusions, water style, physical skills, medical ninjutsu, sealing techniques. How many things are hidden here? If you don't act, I won't act. Yamanaka Kei narrowed his eyes slightly. The next moment. Choke. Sparks from the collision of the kunao flew all around. The two nimble figures retreated as soon as they touched each other, and threw the kunao in their hands almost at the same time. Choke. 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 In the not-so-spacious mansion, two ghostly figures that appeared and disappeared from time to time kept colliding with each other. After a little probing, the two of them jumped out of the mansion almost at the same time. Yamanaka Kei threw out two kunao, one into the sky and one into the ground. Namikaze Minato held 4 flying thunder god kunao in each hand, and while spinning around, he used the strength of his waist and abdomen to throw all of them in the direction of Yamanaka Kei. Ding 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 ding, the flying thunder god kunao collided with each other in mid-air, directly changing the original flight trajectory. 2 of them flew towards Yamanaka Kei's head, blocking his space to dodge upwards, and 2 flew towards his feet, also blocking his downward passage. The remaining 4 flying thunder god kunao drew arcs and rushed straight to his vital points. Uchiha Shuriken throwing technique. Yamanaka Kei's eyes flashed with surprise. This throwing technique looks fancy, requires extremely high insight and reaction ability, and is also difficult to practice, but its practical value is actually average. Many times, it can only achieve an unexpected effect. Except for the Uchiha clan, because of the Sharingan, the difficulty of learning is greatly reduced, and they don't mind learning this skill. Normally, few people practice and use this kind of throwing technique. Over time, the prefix of this technique was given the name Uchiha. Yamanaka Kei, however, did not expect that Namikaze Minato would actually use this move in conjunction with the Flying Thunder God technique. You know, normally a shuriken is just thrown once it's thrown. Most of the time there is no follow-up effect. But wherever Namikaze Minato's Flying Thunder God Kunao goes, he will go too. When you think about it, this move is a perfect match with the Flying Thunder God technique. But it's too late. The collision and friction of ninja tools will always affect the strength and speed. Normally, this difference may not be a big problem. But between the two people whose nerve reactions are equally fast, this gap is enough for Yamanaka Kei to take the initiative in the early stages of the battle. He ignored the oncoming Flying Thunder God Kunao. Yamanaka Kei's right hand swept across the little bit of gum blood that had been sucked out from the corner of his mouth, and his figure disappeared from the spot and appeared next to the kunao that he had just thrown into the sky. Summoning technique. Crow. Ga. 9 pitch black crows shot out in the rising chakra smoke. Like a series of pitch black arrows, they quickly flew in all directions. Feeling the Flying Thunder God technique embedded in the knot seal on these crows, Namikaze Minato's face darkened. He had been watching Yamanaka Kei fight against Jiraiya-sensei for the past 3 days. Seeing that his best friend had never used the Flying Thunder God technique, he asked the reason. The answer I got was that my best friend still lacked control over the Flying Thunder God technique, and if he wanted to apply it in actual combat, he probably still had a long way to go. Result: the long road you have to go is your trick to deal with me, right? Your brothers are connected with you by heart, are you playing tricks on them? Namikaze Minato got angrier the more he thought about it. Ever since he made this friend, he has been fooled every now and then, and each time is different. Chapter 68. 9 crows flew rapidly across the battlefield where Namikaze Minato and Yamanaka Kei were fighting, frequently changing their flight angles and trajectories. The 8 Flying Thunder God Kunao were frequently retrieved and fired by Namikaze Minato, who was constantly moving in space, as if they had woven an impenetrable net. The two figures, both wearing Konoha vests, kept colliding and separating. The standard Kunao with water style water blade slash and the Flying Thunder God Kunao with wind style chakra nature transformation clashed endlessly. The two men repeatedly used dangerous killing moves that could easily take Janin's life, but they still failed to touch the opponent's clothes. The dangerous feeling, as if dancing on the edge of a knife, made Namikaze Minato's hair stand on end. In the past, with his superhuman nerve reaction speed, he could easily dodge and counterattack no matter what kind of opponent he faced. But even though he had given his 100% concentration in this competition with his best friend, he still couldn't get rid of the sense of crisis that was following him like a shadow and approaching every step of the way. Thrilling. Deadly. Exciting. Under heavy pressure, he had to be more focused and dedicated. Oh no! How come this guy's speed is getting faster and faster? Yamanaka Kei also felt that creepy sense of crisis. It has the same origin as Namikaze Minato, but is even better than the red entry 0 frame start. Coupled with the all-round vision brought by its powerful perception ability. He should have had the upper hand, but it didn't work out as expected, and he directly overpowered Namikaze Minato. The Flying Thunder God Kunao fired at extremely tricky angles, followed by the Raise Nan and the Kunao slash infused with wind-style nature transformation. Under the collision of extreme speed, any technique that requires complicated hand seals and preparation time cannot be used. It's broken. How come he didn't know before that Minato was a player who got stronger when facing stronger opponents? Choke. After a fierce fight, Yamanaka Kei blocked Namikaze Minato's attack with a kunao in his right hand, and gathered chakra in his left hand, trying to carve the Flying Thunder God mark on the opponent's body. Namikaze Minato on the other side obviously had the same idea and pressed his left hand towards his abdomen as well. Crash! The two palms collided in mid-air. Yamanaka Kei's body and arms completely turned into water in an instant, allowing Namikaze Minato's palm to pass through his abdomen. The body of hydration technique becomes immune to all injuries. However, the splashing water did not scatter as Namikaze Minato expected, but under the effect of chakra, released a chaotic chakra flow into his body. The flow of chakra in the body was disrupted for a moment. Namikaze Minato's heart was filled with alarm. The almost instantaneous space transfer was slowed down by the disordered chakra in his body, and at this moment his eyes met Yamanaka Kei's. Yamanaka Kei's right hand had quietly let go of the kunao that was originally held in his hand. Even though his palm, which had turned into water, was scratched by the flying thunder god, the movement of forming the seal with one hand did not show any stagnation or change. Brother Jing. No. Anoka will come over to deliver lunch at noon. Ninjutsu, mind-wandering technique. The words in Namikaze Minato's mind did not change the outcome of this battle at all. The Yamanaka clan's secret technique, Shinran's technique, directly seized control of his body. The two figures passed each other. Minato stood on the water with his hands and feet stiff, and tried to break free from the ninjutsu restraints several times but failed. The secret technique of the Yamanaka clan is such that any resistance is futile when there is a huge difference in mental strength between the caster and the victim. And his best friend's mental strength is several times stronger than his. Namikaze Minato was at a loss as to what to do and could only look up at his best friend with a wry smile, hoping that he would behave himself. Minato, you are going too far. Breakthrough before the battle? Are you bullying me? Yamanaka Kei was the first to complain and accused Namikaze Minato of crimes. Name, Namikaze Minato. Occupation, ninja entries, golden flash, red, seal control, blue, wisdom and ingenuity, blue, good luck, blue, energy storage, blue, rival and best friend, blue, Yin Style Grandmaster, green, handsome, green. The original space-time insight and super speed reaction have disappeared, replaced by a new entry golden flash that is so red that it makes your scalp tingle. The already outrageous increase in power increased again, and a wave of attribute fusions directly brought Minato an epic enhancement. There is no obvious change in the remaining entries, but what the hell is that sudden addition of strong enemy and close friend? Strong rival and friend, blue, when the strength of your close friend and strong rival exceeds your own or is close to your own, your training effect, training concentration and willpower will be improved. When fighting side by side with your close friend or learning from each other, your overall strength and the probability of breakthrough in battle will be slightly improved. Current close friend / strong rival, Yamanaka Kei. Knock. It's just me, right? You are awesome. Namikaze Minato. Yamanaka Kei looked at this entry with both relief and speechlessness. He is glad that Minato regards him as a close friend, and since he also regards Minato as a close friend, he naturally hopes that the other party will become stronger and stronger. But he really couldn't accept this sudden cheat. Is there still a king's law? Is there still law? Don't time travelers have human rights? Is it so great to be the biological son of the World Wolf Father? Can't you bear to see your own son being bullied? Knock. Yamanaka Kei raised his middle finger to the sky in hatred and secretly decided to speed up his entry acquisition. Otherwise, he might really be unable to defeat this bunch of clingers. You broke through before the battle because you are too strong. And even if I broke through, I would still lose. How can this be considered bullying? Namikaze Minato recalled the feeling of breaking through his limits just now, and a smile appeared on his face. I secretly sighed that mutual learning among close friends is indeed the best way to improve one's strength. Losing is losing, cheating is cheating, these are two different things. I have to think about how to make myself feel better. Yamanaka Kei rolled his eyes in annoyance. Knowing Minato for so many years, it's not easy for him to win once. If he doesn't enjoy the fruits of victory, he will be unworthy of all the hard work he has put into the entry system for so long. How about we untie this spell first and then discuss it? I don't trust you, I just untied you and ran away. Don't accuse me of being unfair, you choose between Little Apple and Test 3. Xiao, Kei, can I not choose? Anoka will be here soon. Namikaze Minato just said the word little when he saw his best friend's mouth curled up, so he quickly switched options, and his best friend's mouth curled up even higher. Teacher Jing. I want to see Little Apple. Uchiha Obito's shout came from the dense forest on one side of the training cave. This guy didn't seem to think there was anything wrong with his teacher's dancing, and his expression was full of anticipation and excitement. Subject 3 sounds a little more serious. Nohara Lin pointed with her index fingers, her little face slightly flushed, a little expectant, yet a little reluctant. I really want to watch Minato-sensei's handsome ninja dance. How about we all jump? Yui Kurane blinked her big eyes and put forward her suggestion. Might Guy and Shiranui Genma heard this and silently took a step to the side. To be honest, Hong has become more and more terrifying since he started learning teacher Jing's original illusion technique. Aren't you waiting for Onoka-senpai and Kushina-senpai? No, Harolin did not refute Yui Kurene's words, but just asked a fatal question. The corners of Kakashi's mouth twitched wildly under his mask, and he moved silently to the side of Might Guy and Shiranui Genma. Woman, they are all devils. Chapter 69. The magical dance moves are matched with the D-level illusion magical BGM specially created by Yamanaka Kei to prevent the dance from becoming monotonous. Namikaze Minato's 2 dances received unanimous praise from all the audience present. After a simple joke, Might Guy, Kakashi, and others began to devote themselves to hard training again. Only Obito came over hesitantly and asked Yamanaka Kei if he could teach him these 2 songs and the matching dances. No other meaning. He just thought the teacher danced very well and it would be a shame if no one learned how to dance. As expected, that afternoon, Obito was given special attention by Minato and forced to practice for more than an hour because he ate rice first and then picked up vegetables during lunch. In the afternoon, Namikaze Minato and Yamanaka Kei did not compete again, but instead sorted out their experiences. Crow Flying Thunder God and Flying Thunder God Kunao each have their own advantages and disadvantages in actual combat. The former is agile and swift, greatly increasing the attack height. There is no need to throw the kunao again after each attack, nor is there any need to calculate the landing point of the Flying Thunder God each time. In high-speed combat, the user of the Flying Thunder God technique will display a greater speed. The disadvantages are of course also obvious. In many cases, the flight trajectory of a crow is predictable, and when it is too close to the attacked party, it is easy to be killed by the opponent. As for the latter, the continuous throwing of Flying Thunder God's kunao can make each attack achieve the desired effect, making it more dangerous and deadly. The landing point in space is also more difficult to predict, making it difficult for the enemy to launch an effective counterattack. The disadvantage is that when facing a large number of enemies or extremely fast enemies, more throws and landing point calculations are often required, and the number of space transfers will also increase dramatically. Moreover, although each throw does not take much time, if you do it many times and encounter someone who can launch ninjutsu very quickly, you will easily be exploited by them. Namikaze Minato was a little distressed. In the battle just now, he used Flying Thunder God about 3 to 4 times as many times as his best friend. There are 3 main reasons for this result. One reason was that he was at a disadvantage when his friend used the water wrist technique to increase his strength. This forced him to transfer through space, unload force, and increase speed. Trade speed for power. Second, those summoning crows are really troublesome. He has begun to consider whether he should also raise some crow summoning beasts. In Konoha, most of the crows that can serve as summoning beasts have been bred for several generations. During the larval stage, secret medicine is used to assist its growth, and with proper summoning beast training, it can become a qualified combat force in 3 months at most. Although they do not have nearly as much chakra as the toads in Mount Maiboku. But the speed burst out in a short period of time, coupled with the summoner's elusive attacks, even he would find it difficult to deal with. The third and most important point. His Flying Thunder God technique must include anti-theft measures. At the very least, the Flying Thunder God kunao used when sparring with Yamanaka Kei must be added. His Flying Thunder God kunao is thrown for himself, okay? This guy Jing actually used his technique to grab a position in advance, and then threw the kunao far away for him to pick up. Is this reasonable? Walking the ninja dog? And several times he thought he had seized the opportunity, but this guy actually ran away using his space coordinates. This in turn put him at a greater disadvantage. Namikaze Minato is very neat. If the battle continues at this pace, his disadvantage will become greater and greater. That's why he took the risk and tried to engrave the Flying Thunder God ritual directly on Yamanaka Kei. Just didn't expect it. Yamanaka Kei, who had anticipated this, would use this as an ambush. Just take him down directly. It seems that I have been a little slack in recent years. Namikaze Minato glanced at his best friend who was sitting cross-legged on the rooftop in the distance with a thoughtful expression on his face. I secretly decided to work harder in the future. Although he is not opposed to dancing, he would probably be happier if his close friends danced with him. I remember there seems to be a ninjutsu called Todhira Ikage manipulation jutsu in Mount Maiboku. Namikaze Minato rubbed his chin. Quickly found the best ninjutsu that could counter the Shinranshine technique. Next time. Yes. Next time, I must ask my best friend to dance for him. Achu Yamanaka Kei sneezed out of nowhere. Rubbing his itchy nose, he subconsciously glanced at Namikaze Minato, who was writing and drawing on a scroll in the pavilion in the middle of the lake. This guy is no longer the innocent and naive little son he used to be. Your actions have become more and more ruthless recently. Who is the good guy who uses close physical skills to hit people in the lower body? Fortunately, he was proficient in the hydration technique, otherwise the end would be terrible. Chakra Yamanaka Kei sighed, becoming more and more impatient to obtain an entry that increases chakra. It is said that when you are poor, you can strike with precision, while when you are rich, you can use firepower to cover the enemy. If only he had as much chakra as Minato. Why was we so stingy in the battle just now that we didn't even dare to use Flying Thunder God a few more times? And if he had the same amount of chakra as Senju Hashirama? Do you know what saturation attack is? I have to tell Shikaku when I get back this afternoon and ask him to pick a mission for the Iron Country. Yamanaka Kei muttered something. Now he has made all the preparations he can. As long as you encounter the right task, you can leave Konoha openly and go to the Land of Iron to find Uchiha Madara. Time passes quickly in a peaceful and stable life. The comfortable environment in the training cave makes it impossible to feel the tense atmosphere of the upcoming Third Ninja World War. In the morning, he would spar with Minato, and in the afternoon, he would practice alone or give some instructions to the three little ones. In the evening, hug the fragrant Kushina and enjoy the rare leisure time together. Before we knew it, it was already mid-November. Just thinking about it in Yamanaka Kei. Is Narashikaku really reliable? How come he didn't do either of the two things he asked him to do? The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, once again sent an envoy to call him to the Hokage's office. The huge office was filled with smoke. Sarutobi Hiruzen held a pipe in his mouth, puffing out smoke with his back to the setting sun. The golden sunset failed to illuminate his figure, but instead made his face look gloomy and heavy. Recently, the various ninja bases on the border of the Fire Country have been harassed from time to time. It's obvious. There are already some ninja villages that can't wait to test Konoha. But this was not an accidental provocation during the mission, nor was it a deliberate interception from outside. It's a border station. A border station that represents the face of Konoha village and the territorial dignity of the Fire Nation. If you can't give a strong response or divert the conflict, Jing, I need you to go to Cloud Shinobi village for a classified mission. There, the undercover intelligence agent, the Walking Maiko, will be responsible for picking you up and providing you with intelligence support. There was a rare seriousness and suppression in Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice. The scroll thrown over had no level standards, but every word in it was enough to make the heart of a slightly timid ninja stop. Yes. Yamanaka Kei pursed his lips, cursing in his heart as he gave Narashikaku the middle finger. This is FG. He waited for more than 10 days. It turns out that the mission destination is not the Kingdom of Iron, but the Kingdom of Thunder? A&D. This mission is difficult, seriously? Chapter 70. Just left the Hokage building. Yamanaka Kei quietly used the perception barrier that covered the entire Konoha to lock onto Narashikaku, who was working at the mission reception desk. Seeing that the distance between them was less than 500 meters, he immediately used the telepathic technique to connect with the other person's mind. Brother Ryuju, I just accepted a mission. Guess where I'm going? The sound of Yamanaka Kei's gnashing teeth entered Narashikaku's mind. No guessing, bye. Narashikaku paused for a moment with the tip of his pen, and quickly put down the pen and formed seals with his hands. Using the Nara clan's secret shadow technique, he controlled a large area of shadow, completely wrapping himself up, trying to cut off the connection with the telepathic technique. Both are secret techniques derived from Yin Dun. The shadow mysticism of the Nara clan and the spiritual mysticism of the Yamanaka clan each have their own strengths. But in the final analysis, they are all variations of Yin Dun and can easily influence each other. Only. Guess again, why didn't the mind-body transmission technique break? Yamanaka Kei's words made Narashikaku's cheek twitch. The gap in mental power is too great, and he cannot cut off the connection with Yamanaka Kei's telepathic technique. Don't panic. He has a backup plan. Glancing to the side, he saw a rarely used confidential room at the mission reception desk. He picked up the documents on the table and prepared to go in and activate the anti-perception barrier. There is the existence of the barrier, plus his own shadow secret technique. No big problem. I heard that there are 2 geishas in Adolfo Street who are as good as the Warren. Their names seem to be Momoko Ueyama and Sakura Yanagi. Oh no, Yamanaka Kei has won too. Narashikaku covered his face with one hand and sat dejectedly in his seat. Adofo Street is less than 40 kilometers away from Konoha and is a very prosperous street in Senjuba town. Because the management within Konoha village is relatively strict, there are no red light districts or casinos, and there are not many activities for ninjas to enjoy. Adofo Street is located on a major traffic route between the north and the south, so naturally there are many such industries. He had only gone there a few times when he was young out of curiosity, together with Hai and others. Apart from drinking and listening to music, I really didn't do anything. But if I tell this to Yoshino, will he believe it? Jing is such a BD, he actually threatens people with this kind of thing. What about the tacit understanding between brothers? What is the bottom line as a man? Do you believe that he went to Kushina to complain? I tried so hard. Hokage-sama has his own ideas, what can I do? I was sent to Cloud Shinobi village to work with spies to assassinate Cloud Shinobi high-ranking officials and to stir up conflicts between the Cloud Shinobi militant faction and other ninja villages. I can't understand why this mission fell on me. Yamanaka Kei ignored Narashikaku's complaints. He didn't understand. Although he had shown a certain level of strength, weren't these kinds of shady missions usually completed by root ninjas? Danzo-sama's relationship with Hokage-sama seems to have eased a lot recently. Many of the Root's missions have been transferred to him recently. What do you mean? By chance? Have you seen Lord Danzo lately? I saw him once more than 10 days ago when I followed Tsunade to the Konoha hospital. Danzo-sama previously proposed to Hokage-sama that you join the Root and receive the same treatment as Orochimaru. Hokage-sama did not directly refuse, but said to consider it. It's a ghost. Yamanaka Kei's face darkened when he heard this. He really couldn't understand what Danzo was trying to do. He could understand the need to ease relations with the third generation, it was simply a matter of terms playing a role. He could probably guess the reason for transferring the Root mission. At this stage, Danzo is eager to get rid of the influence of the Black Entry brain opening. Whether it is to investigate the evil things from the Sengoku period or to protect his own personal safety, a large number of manpower is needed. Can he join the Roots? Or is it the same treatment as Orochimaru? You know, Orochimaru doesn't have the seal of eliminating tongue evil. Even if he can't become Hokage, he is still the successor to the next Root leader. And he has stood against Danzo more than once, and now he is Nine-Tails Jinchuriki's boyfriend and a die-hard supporter of the Hokage faction. Are you sure this isn't meant to flatter third generation? In fact, I guess this is most likely a mutual test between Hokage-sama and Danzo-sama, and you have enough strength but lack status and reputation, which makes you the best candidate for the two to test each other. Narashikaku finally expressed his guess. He had seen the secret game between the Hokage and the Hokage's assistant too many times. This time, Danzo's proposal could, on the one hand, show goodwill to Inoshika and show his support for someone from their family to sit in a high position. Secondly, he may also want to gain more support from the ninja family at this juncture. Third, it is very likely that they are testing the third generation to see if they will relax their control over the Jinchuriki after having another Uzumaki member. Fourth, they want to demand more rights, more manpower, and further expand the scale of the Root. The third generation's reaction this time is also somewhat intriguing. He did not immediately reject Danzo-sama's proposal to have Yamanaka Kei join the Root. He had recommended Yamanaka Kei for missions to the Land of Iron several times before, but each time the Hokage had rejected him and chosen someone else to carry out the mission. Perhaps the Hokage-sama intended to take advantage of this test to reclaim some of the Root's rights and prevent it from growing further? Or maybe, the Hokage wanted to judge and see something clearly through Danzo's reaction? It's impossible that he really wants Yamanaka Kei to enter the Roots. This is Nine-Tails Jinchuriki's future husband. You're strong enough, so if you can't kill them, just keep on fighting? What the hell? Are there any good people among these two? Yamanaka Kei cursed and disconnected the telepathic technique. He began to quickly check his ninja tool reserves and various sealing scrolls. Although no matter what Danzo and third generation are planning, in general, neither of them had the idea of attacking him directly, let alone making him a victim. But this feeling is really unpleasant. Instead of testing each other, can't you find a small room to test each other? Just fight with bayonets, who would say anything against you two? Why bring trouble to others? Yamanaka Kei took a deep breath and suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart. I secretly decided that this time I must raise my strength to the super shadow level. In the face of absolute strength, all conspiracies and tricks are in vain. I recalled the contents of the mission scroll I just read, as well as the time of my meeting with Yakushi Nono. There was a light in his eyes. 5 days later at 12 o'clock in the evening? It would take a normal ninja about 4 days to travel from Konoha to Cloud Shinobi Village at full speed. In order to prevent accidents on the road, we will reserve 1 more day. And he has a rideable flying summoning beast, Pidgeot. With Pidgeot's speed and endurance, even if he took a detour to the Iron Kingdom first and then went to Cloud Shinobi Village, he would still have more than enough time. It would be best if you could find Uchihamadara directly. If you can't find it, you can go to the mountain cemetery again after the mission is over and wait for it. The trouble is a bit troublesome. But as long as I can obtain the immortal body of Uchihamadara, what does a little trouble matter? When I come back from outside. He wanted to see what these 2 people were going to do. Chapter 71. The loud eagle cry resounded through the sky. Even without using the telekinesis technique, Yamanaka Kei could hear the undisguised ease and joy in Pidgeot's voice. Only. This is too much joy. Did his Pidgeot suffer injustice in the breeding house? It's no wonder Yamanaka Kei had such thoughts. Although the accident happened to the puppy, it was indeed the responsibility of the breeding house according to the original foster care agreement. But not only did they have to pay compensation on both ends, the person in charge was also dragged into the grassroots for interrogation and suffered a lot of injustice. What if the other person gets angrier and angrier afterward? What about secretly venting his frustration on his remaining summoning beasts? The breeding house is bad for you. Yamanaka Kei connected with Pidgeot's consciousness using the telepathy technique. Oh, the Pidgeot kept chirping and described in detail its life in the breeding house. Every meal was a delicious feast that it had never had before. In the morning, you only need to cooperate with the keeper and perform some simple summoning animal training, and then you can enjoy a very comfortable massage service. After a short break at noon, you can go out and fly freely to release excess energy. When they come back in the afternoon, the keepers will comb their feathers and clean the stains and insect pests on their bodies. At night, there are female birds that are either pure and shy or charming and ready to dine with. This kind of life is even more perfect than imagined. The only problem is that there are too many female birds attracted by its domineering aura. In addition to the companions from Summoning Island that came to Konoha with it, the female birds in the breeding house are more beautiful than each other. It's also difficult to choose. FK. Yamanaka Kei slapped Pidgeot on the head. You actually have a harem in a breeding house? Where's the face? Just asking about your face? As a time traveler, your master has been here for almost 20 years, and I am still a child. You, partying every night, with 3,000 beauties? How come those female birds didn't squeeze you to death? Oh. The falcon Pidgeot turned his head and looked at his master in confusion. With its intelligence quotient, it really couldn't understand why it was suddenly beaten. Fly well. If you can't reach the Iron Kingdom in a day and a half, I will sterilize you myself. Yamanaka Kei angrily broke Pidgeot's head back. Damn it. He spends his money, enjoys the top-notch service in the breeding house, and dates girls without any worries. My kidneys are sore from soaking them. How can I seek justice here? Oh. The falcon's pupils shrank rapidly, and it was so frightened that it almost fell from the air. He hurriedly began to flap his wings to speed up. This caused the already extremely fast speed to increase even more. Yamanaka Kei felt the strong wind whistling past his ears, turned his head to glance at Pidgeot's tail, and after scaring the guy so much that he shivered, he withdrew his gaze with satisfaction. You little BD, it's fine that you live a more carefree and comfortable life than your master, but you actually dare to say it out loud to make me angry. Even if I can't really make you lose your love, can't I give you some color to see? Pidgeot was apparently completely unaware of his master's sinister intentions. In order to preserve happiness for the second half of life, I keep working hard and dare not slack off for the moment. Yamanaka Kei sat on Pidgeot's back, took out the kunai he carried with him from the ninja tool bag on his waist, and engraved the mark of Flying Thunder God on each one, preparing for the upcoming battle. The Iron Country has a unique geographical environment. Compared to the Fire Kingdom with its distinct 4 seasons and pleasant climate, it is obviously colder here. The weather in Konoha was just beginning to get cooler in mid-November, but it was already snowing heavily in the Iron Kingdom. Heading north. The eagle Pidgeot only took 2 short meals and rests, which took less than 2 days in total, to help Yamanaka Kei directly locate the approximate location of the mountain cemetery. The heavy snow covered the lush forest in the original map. Those super large animal bones standing in the dense forest looked even more hideous and terrifying under the sharp wind and snow. The Pidgeot relies on the wind to stay 1,000 meters high. Yamanaka Kei narrowed his eyes, observed the terrain with difficulty, and silently compared the landmark information on the map for a long time. We have just confirmed that the Uchihamadara's lair is about 6 or 7 kilometers ahead. Pidgeot, land. Yamanaka Kei patted Pidgeot's back. Pidgeot slowly lowered his flying altitude, and when he was more than 10 meters above the ground, he turned into chakra smoke and returned to the breeding house in Konoha. Yamanaka Kei clapped his palms and used the basic wind style, airflow, which offset the force of his fall and made him land lightly on the ground. He raised his hand and carved another flying thunder god spell the size of a fingernail on the giant rib of an unknown animal. He closed his eyes and sensed the spatial coordinates extending to the south and east. After confirming that there was no problem with the retreat route, he headed towards the sunken pit in the center of the mountain cemetery. Compared to naturally formed terrains such as valleys, streams, and tiankangs, the mountain cemetery has a sudden drop in the terrain, as if someone used a super large Earth-style earthquake core to forcibly press a piece of land in the middle into the ground, with extremely obvious traces of man-made things. Uchihamadara was obviously extremely confident at the time, confident that no one would find this place, and that anyone who accidentally entered here would eventually be played around by him. Ninja technique, breath control technique. Ninja technique, camouflage. When Yamanaka Kei was 5 kilometers away from the mountain cemetery, he quickly restrained his breath and minimized the chakra reaction. He also used the camouflage technique from Rock Shinobi to completely hide his figure in the snow. Plus the deodorizing spray he had been using. Apart from the tiny footprints on the snow, there were no other traces. And we had just walked about 1 kilometer. Yamanaka Kei, who was in stealth mode, was slightly startled. In order not to alert the enemy and cause his plan to fail, his perception ninjutsu has now narrowed down to a radius of 100 meters. The level of perception is so refined that it can be described as clear and precise. But if it weren't for the extremely weak chakra reaction, even he would have ignored the white zetsu that had merged into the trunk and was almost indistinguishable from the tree. Is it because it is in a dormant state? Yamanaka Kei calmed himself and carefully circumvented the surveillance network set up by white zetsu. What he saw before him was just the most common mass-produced white zetsu. Logically speaking, if White Zetsu's aura was so weak during the Ninja World War, it would be impossible for anyone to detect his movement and deploy a battle line. So the only explanation is hibernation. Name White Zetsu occupation, soldier item degraded wood, green, assimilation, green. Degraded wood clearly indicates that it is a mass-produced weapon made by Kagaya using the sacred tree. It can parasitize in spore form, merge in pitcher plant form, and travel underground in mayfly form. Assimilation, able to absorb other people's chakra, supply it to oneself, and also change into the appearance of other people. It would be very difficult for ordinary genin to deal with such soldiers, and even genin would suffer if they were not careful. 100,000 white zetsu, just thinking about it made Yamanaka Kei's scalp tingle. This is just ordinary white zetsu. I don't know what those white zetsu that have undergone special changes will look like. Chapter 72. With his superb breath-concealing technique and Rock Shinobi's ninjutsu, Yamanaka Kei bypassed the white zetsu that were scattered around the mountain cemetery and came to the edge of the giant pit. Looking down at the giant pit, the skeleton of a giant creature was placed in the center of the pit. It seems to be reminding people who accidentally enter this place how dangerous and scary it is. On the rock walls surrounding the giant pit, there are man-made holes that look like relics left by ancient people. They are covered with snow and humus, and do not look like anyone lives there at all. If someone really stumbled into this place, he would probably sigh at the wisdom and power of the ancients. Gedo statue. Yamanaka Kei fixed his gaze on the back of the hole where the behemoth's tail vertebrae were connected. Even if the perception ability has been converged to the minimum range. But his body's instinct still clearly told him what kind of terrible thing was hidden there. The aura that makes one's body stiffen and hair stand on end, as if being stared at by the abyss or trapped in the undercurrent of a vast ocean, is definitely that of the Gedo statue. He calmed his mind and restrained his breath to the lowest level. Yamanaka Kei buried a flying thunder god Kunao in the snow, and maintaining the camouflage of ninja technique, camouflage hidden, he quietly sneaked into the giant pit. A few torches emitted a dim light in the dark underground cave. In front of a stone table carved from bluestone, Uchiha Madara, hunched over, wrote the last stroke on the scroll in the dim light. He casually threw the scroll, which should have appeared in Mizuki's office, to White Zetsu who was standing nearby. Uchiha Madara exhaled a breath of air with a slightly tired look. His body, as old as a candle in the wind, no longer has the vigorous energy he had in his youth. Even with the help of the Gedo statue, it can still survive. But such a state is more like a mockery and ridicule to the man who once stood at the top of the ninja world. He couldn't help but think and recall again and again. White Zetsu, who was standing nearby, caught the scroll thrown by Uchiha Madara and had a weird smile on his face. Just as he was about to say something, the blood-red three-tomo Sharingan in the dark cave shut him up, dived underground in silence, and sent the scroll back to the Water Kingdom. Lord Madara, as you requested, the Mist Shinobi leaders have sent inquiries to the Sand Shinobi, asking them to explain the death of the Watermelon Mountain pufferfish ghost, but there are still people in the village who want to take action against Konoha first. The Black Zetsu, who possessed the White Zetsu and whose body was half black and half white, had a voice full of fanaticism and flattery. Although he was dissatisfied with Uchiha Madara's actions of delaying the outbreak of war, the 1,000 years had already enabled him to develop unparalleled acting skills. Even someone as strong as Uchiha Madara didn't notice anything wrong. However, at this time, Uchiha Madara no longer had the heart to listen to Black Zetsu's nonsense. A hint of sarcasm appeared on the old face. The pair of three-tomo Sharingans flashing with blood light directly locked onto the direction of the cave entrance. Human curiosity is always so strong. It leads people to explore the unknown, but also leads people to death. The old voice carries with it confidence and composure from within. Even though Uchiha now has white hair and skin like dry branches, full of wrinkles and old age Madara. The Gedo statue pipe connected to his back made him look particularly weak and powerless. But that powerful aura that looks down on everything is still breathtaking. Name, Uchiha Madara. Occupation, ninja. Entries, the first meeting of Yin and Yang Remnant, red, Indra's power, red, chosen Uchiha, red, immortal body, red, will to fight 100 battles, red, rose of the battlefield, red, the two heroes of Sengoku, purple, song of blood and fire, purple, born to be a hero, purple, lonely soul, blue, generalist, blue, scheme for troubled times, blue, outer path to extend life, blue, Brakan, green, fateful entanglement, grey, obsession, grey. Exhausted, black. Oh my god, this is outrageous. It's so outrageous. When Yamanaka Kei saw this entry for the first time, he felt a black screen in front of his eyes and almost had a cardiac arrest. He thought that with 2 deprivations and 2 demotions in his hands, no matter how strong Uchiha Madara was, he would be shredded into a shrimp. He even thought about it. Just like Uchiha Madara in the original work, who was so old that he couldn't even walk. He might not even need to use the system and could fight the opponent for hundreds of rounds. Result. Your uncle is truly worthy of being your uncle. 6 red entries, 3 purple entries, 4 blue entries, 1 green, 2 grey, and 1 black. Is this the strength of the strongest boss other than the Tsutsuki clan? The initial form of the power of 6 paths, the merging of yin and yang, was just obtained, and Madara was able to activate the Rinnegan. Although he has not fully mastered the essence of yin-yang escape, he cannot do the same thing as the old man from 6 paths. Even because Madara dug out the Rinnegan, the entry was given the word incomplete. But this stuff is really high-end stuff. Even if Yamanaka Kei knew, even if he copied this entry, he would not be able to exert the maximum effect of yin and yang power due to his limited chakra amount and the lack of 6 paths bloodline. But who wouldn't be crazy excited when seeing this? The remaining ones are the power of Indra, the chosen Uchiha, the body of the sage, the will to fight 100 battles, and the battlefield rose. The amplification effect of each red entry makes Yamanaka Kei intuitively feel the beauty of data. And even the remaining purple and blue entries. It is also enough to crush 99% of the powerful ninjas. No wonder old man Onoki's legs went weak and cold sweat fell faster than rain when he heard the name of Madara. This was the heyday. Yamanaka Kei felt that if he looked at her for a second longer, it would be disrespectful to life. Fortunately. At this time, the black entry hanging at the end of Madara's panel, exhausted, is powerful enough. Not to mention that it greatly weakened Madara's overall combat effectiveness. Once you lose the connection with the Gedo statue, your life will also enter a countdown state. Not to mention that after a fierce battle breaks out, the loss of various attributes such as strength, physical strength, spirit, and life will be further accelerated. Fortunately, he still has a cheat. Deep Blue. Add me. No, no. System, copy the immortal body for me. Yamanaka Kei finally chose his original goal, the immortal body. Immortal body, red ultimate Yang Tsu Chakra energy, brings vigorous vitality and outstanding talent, greatly improves cell strength, cell activity, regeneration speed, vitality, chakra quantity, Yang Tsu affinity, and greatly improves natural energy affinity and water, earth, fire, wind, and thunder affinity. In comparison, although Indra's power is strong, it will gradually affect the will of its owner over a long period of time. Chosen Uchiha, he has to fight with the Uchiha clan first when he returns, otherwise he can't explain the origin of Sharingan clearly. The battle maniac attribute like 100 battles will is not suitable for him. Although the battlefield rose is powerful and can enhance various combat skills, ninjutsu, and ninja tool control, it is not what he urgently needs at the moment. Only the body of an immortal. Once he has the copy, his strength will undergo a qualitative change. The entry was copied successfully. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the red entry immortal body. Yamanaka Kei listened to the prompt sound coming from his ear, and his originally tense mind relaxed a little. Under Uchiha Madara's gradually becoming impatient gaze, he cancelled the invisibility effect of ninja technique, camouflage invisibility. The silver-white hair is particularly eye-catching in the corridor with alternating light and dark. Under the iron forehead protector, there is a serious face with clear edges and corners. The cold red eyes met Uchiha Madara's stunned gaze. Yamanaka Kei spoke in a deep voice. Old Uchiha, the naturally evil one, long time no see. Toby. Spicy. Chapter 73. The three black megatama in the blood-red pupils flashed with eerie light in the dark cave. Before Uchiha Madara finished speaking, he jumped out from behind the desk. While moving towards Yamanaka Kei at high speed, with a wave of his hand, the chakra thread that shot out from his fingertips had already wrapped around the sickle hanging on the rock wall of the cave. The pipe connected to the Gedo statue behind him was quickly stretched. With a twist of his body and a swing of his arm, the sickle that was more than a meter tall arrived first, and the sharp blade hit Yamanaka Kei in the face. Uchiha Madara did not stop at all, he formed a tiger seal with his hands and spit out 4 scorching fire dragons from his mouth. Fire style. Dragon flame singing technique. Under the blazing firelight, Uchiha Madara, with a terrifying ferocious aura, walking side by side with 4 fire dragons, seemed to be still the bloody rose that bloomed on the battlefield decades ago. Even though I am already very old, even though my life is about to come to an end. But once you choose to take action, this guy still seems to be the man who makes the entire ninja world tremble. Magic mirror, the world turns. Yamanaka Kei clapped his hands, and the world in his eyes quickly began to distort and shatter. The Uchiha Madara that was galloping towards him has disappeared. The old man who was still sitting behind the desk, opened and closed his eyes, as if he had returned to the gurgling river decades ago. The boy with the watermelon head in my memory was skipping stones on the water out of boredom. This time, Uchiha Madara picked up a stone on the ground, jumped over the watermelon-headed boy, and skipped it directly to the other side. Girls really learn things very quickly. The boy with the watermelon head bent forward in frustration, squatting in a corner with tearful eyes. Even though he knew it was an illusion, Uchiha Madara still smiled as he looked at this familiar scene. As expected, when people get old, they can't help but miss the past. Wait, girls? Uchiha Madara was only stunned for a moment, and the Senju Hashirama in front of him had grown a lot. With tearful eyes, she clenched his hand tightly, looking like she was about to faint from crying. Little Madara, marry me. I will treat you well forever. Uchiha Madara was stunned for a moment, then kicked the young Senju Hashirama out. Wow, little Madara, please don't do this to me. Wow, I'm pursuing you very seriously. The appearance, personality, and even the voice are so similar. The ultimate in illusion that is so realistic that it can be mistaken for real. So, I'm a woman? Uchiha Madara's cheek twitched slightly, and he was about to forcibly break the weird illusion in front of him. What did he see? His brother, Uchiha Izuna, also turned into a beautiful girl? That BD Senju Tobirama seems to have fallen in love with his brother, now sister? How can it be repaired? Wait. The plot progressed too fast. The illusion scene changed, and Uchiha Madara had grown up. He had suppressed all dissenting voices within the clan with his absolute power. She. Finally, after Hashirama's unremitting pursuit, she married him. And his brother, sister, unexpectedly married that BD Senju Tobirama at the same time. Damn you! How dare you! Without waiting for Uchiha Madara to continue questioning the person who created this disgusting illusion, what was going on in his mind? The scene in front of her changed again. The Konoha she founded with Senju Hashirama after their marriage attracted countless peace-loving ninja families to join. Konoha is truly established. Everything was going in a good direction, although she and Hashirama would occasionally have arguments. But between husband and wife, there is nothing that cannot be overcome, as long as they fight at the head of the bed and make up at the foot of the bed. And after experiencing many battles including the Cold War, the Hot War, the Tatami War, and the Kitchen War, Hashirama finally accepted his suggestion and used absolute force to annex the other 4 newly established ninja villages. Although there were still occasional conflicts in the ninja world, with her and Senju Hashirama's joint suppression, the overall environment quickly entered a peaceful state. And after that? Is there no other plot besides Jiangjiang Nie Niao? Have a baby? Grass. Swish, swish, swish. Yamanaka Kei left 2 shadow clones in the cave, ready to intercept Uchiha Madara's pursuit at any time. He himself used the Flying Thunder God technique to quickly disappear into the mountain cemetery. His previous experience of activating powerful entries told him so. Even if it is a blue entry, it will cause a significant impact on the body when activated. This kind of impact is naturally nothing under normal circumstances. But in front of Uchiha Madara, even at his peak, Yamanaka Kei still felt unsafe. After being activated again, there will be a brief side effect interference. Do you really think that Madara's scythe is no longer sharp? After a series of Flying Thunder God teleportations, Yamanaka Kei quickly arrived at a glacier with thick snow dozens of kilometers away. He hid himself in a natural glacier crevice and used the sealing talisman in the ninja tool bag on his waist to quickly cast a simple seal that could isolate the breath. Yamanaka Kei gave the system the command to activate the immortal body without hesitation. Buzz! As soon as the order was given, Yamanaka Kei felt a tingling and numb sensation all over his body. All cells in the body gradually begin to undergo a transformation in the level of life. The internal organs glowed with terrifying vitality, and the functions of the heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys quickly completed cell replacement under the unimaginable power of Yang Dun. Powerful, surging, restless. The 5 internal organs have completed their transformation, just like an old car equipped with an F1 engine. Yang Dun's breath full of vitality, as his heart pushed the blood circulation, filled all the cells in his body in the blink of an eye. Every bone, every fascia, every muscle, every skin. The spiritual power began to become restless, attracted by the extremely abundant life force. The chakra refining method has long been transformed into an instinct. Like a roaring torrent, an endless supply of chakra gathers in Yamanaka Kei's body. The situation where his mental power could not generate even a single ray of chakra, no matter how hard he searched for physical energy in his body, was gone forever. A body that could match his mental strength directly brought about earth-shaking changes in him. His physical strength has doubled. This is really unreasonable. Yamanaka Kei clenched his fists, and his body directly transformed into the state of water technique. The black and grey garbage that appeared due to the rapid iteration of cells was quickly cleared out. Without much change in the total weight and number of cells, the body's strength has doubled and the life energy has increased dozens or even hundreds of times. Chakra directly transformed from a trickle into a vast ocean. The control over the 5 elements ninjutsu seemed to have improved a lot in this state of abundant life energy. When the hell have I ever fought such a rich battle? Yamanaka Kei's mouth almost stretched to his ears. The situation where he used ninjutsu so stingily is finally gone. Chapter 74. Host, Yamanaka Kei. Occupation, Ninja. Activated entries, Traveler, red, 0 frame start, red, Immortal body, red, Yin Style Master, purple, Water Style Master, purple, Insight into time and space, purple, King of Ninja World, blue, Junlin, blue, inactive entries, Cricket Pupa, white, Crisp Skin and Hard Life, white, 9 treasures in 1 ladder, blue, nothing, grey, Expired milk, white, entry gift, 3 entries stripped, 2 item downgraded, 2. 8 entries. 3 reds, 3 purples and 2 blues. Compare to Uchiha Madara, which has 6 reds, 3 purples, 4 blues, 1 green, 2 grays, and 1 black. Although it seems that there is still a gap, but we are not black. There are no negative attributes of black entries to hold it back. Being able to perfectly display his strongest fighting power should be enough to compete with Madara. Yamanaka Kei gripping his fist and rubbing his palm. After moving his arms and legs a little, he adjusted to the sudden increase in strength and physical power. He transformed into the appearance of Senju Tobirama again. With a thought, he followed the mark of the flying thunder god and returned directly to the cave in the mountain cemetery. The 2 shadow clones that were left in the cave to block Uchiha Madara or Black Zetsu's pursuit and give the main body time to activate and adapt to the new terms saw him return. One of the shadow clone directly turned into chakra smoke and dissipated, transmitting the memory of this period of time to him. He gestured. The other shadow clone nodded silently and activated the flying thunder god to disappear into the cave. Ahem. Uchiha Madara lowered his head slightly and coughed a few times. The 3 Tomo Sharingan in his eyes had transformed into the appearance of the eternal Mangeki without him noticing. Even though the 3 Megatama in these pupils are not his eyes, he is the strongest Uchiha and the one who masters yin-yang escape technique. As long as he wants, as long as he needs. Slightly increase the physical burden, expend some life energy, and stimulate the dormant pupil power in the body. He can temporarily transform the Sharingan that does not belong to him into the original eternal Mangeki Sharingan. Although if used in this way, not only will these eyes be destroyed, but the Mangeki state will also disappear afterwards. His aged body would become even weaker and older due to the forced activation of the eternal Mangeki Sharingan. But the enemy in front of him could not be dealt with by the 3 Megatama. Uchiha Madara knew it well. He is old. Especially in the past 1 or 2 years, he even began to have difficulty walking. Perhaps in a few years, he will need to rely on a sickle as a crutch to walk unsteadily. If I had seen this fake Senju Tobirama a few years earlier. He has no interest in performing any illusions. He would have picked up the sickle and chopped off the guy who dared to fool him with his own hands, leaving only his head. You know, when I suddenly heard the news of Senju Tobirama's death. He had asked Black Zetsu to investigate several times. Even he himself had secretly made a trip to Cloud Shinobi village after returning Senju Tobirama's body to Konoha. How could he not know whether Senju Tobirama was dead or not? All this preparation can't all be in vain, right? After Yamanaka Kei received Shadow Clone's memories, he looked at Uchiha Madara, who had sensed that his true form had returned and had just slowly resolved the illusion, with an ambiguous smile on his face. He had always been careful to keep all kinds of backup plans. He was afraid that the other party would run away, or that the other party would catch up with him. He was worried that Black Zetsu would take the opportunity to attack him, or that he would suffer from it instead of killing it. Prepare things as thoroughly as possible. Result. Uchiha Madara just sat there calmly, with an attitude of no matter what you plot against me, I will remain unmoved. Even Black Zetsu lowered his head and eyes, always standing beside Uchiha Madara. Arrogant, aloof, confident and even conceited. Before feeling any crisis that could harm oneself. He was too lazy to even remove the illusion. Or, did you regard his illusion as a rare entertainment? It couldn't be that this was an illusion of his, and it really hit this gentleman's heart. Gender swapped text. A ruthless person like Uchiha Madara can't like this tune. Aging is such a sad thing. Any life is so ugly and unbearable when it is about to end. Uchiha Madara raised his palms, which were wrinkled like tree bark. Beneath the dry and thick knuckles were calluses from using various weapons in his youth, and the palms were rough with deep grooves. It formed a sharp contrast with the skin in the illusion, which was still delicate even though it was old. In the illusion, his life was smooth. The power of Uchiha and Senju also gave birth to the universe. Although the method is different, isn't this also another interpretation of the Nanga Shrine Stone Tablet? Really? Illusion? No. It's infinite Tsukuyomi. This is the only and eternal answer in this world. Then, Yamanaka Kei looked at Uchiha Madara who was full of the aura of a king, and after a long while he uttered 2 words. Sorry. It's his fault that he can't pretend to be evasive and can't pick up the gag. He will find someone to teach him when he returns. I don't ask for a head-on confrontation with the King of Force, but at least I can be a qualified supporting actor and not ruin the atmosphere. Heh, you are young, energetic, ignorant, and fearless. It's just Senju Tobirama's flying thunder god technique. How dare you appear in front of this old man again? Uchiha Madara folded his arms around his chest, his voice full of mockery. He thought Yamanaka Kei's first appearance was just an accident. Perhaps he found some clues, or perhaps his intuition made him feel uneasy, so he came to investigate. But after recognizing him, she still dared to go back. This is probably because he is old and sick, and has little strength left. This is because he thinks that with Senju Tobirama's Flying Thunder God technique, he can escape unscathed even if he is defeated. Maybe, you are planning to kill me? The little devil now. How arrogant. Uchiha Madara sat upright on the chair, with blue chakra surging around his body. Bones formed by chakra and pupil power wrapped around him, and the half-blue skeletal giant filled most of the cave. Susanoo Phase 2. The blue skeletal giant had a mocking smile on his face, exactly the same as Uchiha Madara's. A murderous aura swept across the surroundings. With his backhand loosely grasped, a giant chakra blade chopped straight towards Yamanaka Kei. Boom! A huge cloud of dust rolled and surged, and the instantaneous slash directly split Yamanaka Kei in half. After another sweep, the entrance that was originally only wide enough for one person to pass through was completely shattered. Large chunks of earth and rocks collapsed and fell. The sunlight shines into the dark cave, illuminating the scene inside the cave and also illuminating the Gedo statue hidden behind Susanoo. Maybe I can do more than just Flying Thunder God. Yamanaka Kei's hydration technique's body slowly recovered after 2 slashes. Although the hydration technique cannot completely immunize against the damage of the chakra knife, the super-fast reaction brought by 0 frame start allows him to split his body in half before the slash arrives. Look at the majestic Gedo statue and the majestic Susanoo. Yamanaka Kei clapped his hands, and the powerful chakra in his body, which was as deep as the ocean, immediately turned into a high-pressure water column at the corner of his mouth and slashed towards Susanoo and Gedo statue, as if to split them both in half at once. Chapter 75. Uchiha Madara still sat on the stone chair. Eternal Mangeki Sharingan's extraordinary observation ability allowed him to clearly see all of Yamanaka Kei's reactions. The body was split in advance with the hydration technique, the advanced water-style water-severing wave that does not require seals, plus the Flying Thunder God technique that was revealed earlier. It was just a moment of fighting. Uchiha Madara has already judged that the guy in front of him is probably stronger than the original Senju Tobirama. Powerful illusions brought by strong mental strength, extraordinary nerve reaction speed, excellent chakra control, outstanding water-style talent, and rare space-time secrets. He was really surprised that such a strong man could be born in this era. Only it's a technique that will make people feel disgusted from the bottom of their hearts when they see it. Uchiha Madara's voice was low and husky. He raised his head slightly and looked at the high-pressure water blade that had already cut off a corner of the second stage Susanoo, but was still pressing down rapidly and was about to touch the Gedo statue behind him. The pupil power in his eyes and the chakra in his body surged out like a river bursting its banks. Susanoo's body made of blue chakra solidified rapidly, and the originally visible bones were completely wrapped in solid chakra. Uchiha Madara was also lifted to the position of Susanoo's head by the materialized chakra as Susanoo's huge body gradually stood up. It's like a king looking down on the ants in the world. Uchiha Madara still sat on the stone chair with a calm expression. But only he himself knows clearly. Aside from the battle with Senju Hashirama, there are very few situations where he can be forced to use this form of Susanoo when facing a small number of enemies. Of course, there is a reason why the Gedo statue needs to be protected. But more importantly, he has now lost the ability to move quickly. Faced with an attack that exceeded Susanoo's second stage defense limit, he could not relieve the force by retreating, nor could he avoid damage by quickly dodging. He could only choose to confront it head-on. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The high-pressure water blade kept rubbing against Susanoo, and the sharp cutting sound hurt the eardrums. The defensive power suddenly increased dramatically. The cutting speed of the originally unstoppable water-style water-severing wave has become incredibly slow. Almost at the moment when Susanoo was formed in the third stage. 4 dark blue arms, holding swords in both hands, swung towards Yamanaka Kei again. And the other 2 arms began to form seals. Yamanaka Kei stopped the water-style water-severing wave attack as soon as Susanoo took action. He took a deep breath and clapped his hands again. Water-style big water explosion. It opened its mouth and spit out violent waves of water onto the ground. As he leaped into the air, the waves of water spitting onto the ground also accelerated his leaping speed. His body barely dodged the 2 chakra giant swords that were slashing at him. The huge explosion also created huge waves more than 10 meters high, rushing towards Uchihamadara and the Gedo statue behind it. Fire style. Extinguish the fire. The waves of fire surging out of Suzanu's mouth collided with the waves of water breaking through the explosion, stirring up water mist all over the sky. The water surges and the burning current rises. The evaporating mist quickly filled the entire mountain cemetery. Even with the power of the eternal Mangeki Sharingan, Uchihamadara was unable to capture the enemy's figure in the thick fog in the first place. Shadow Clone Technique. Yamanaka Kei clapped his hands and a shadow clone appeared in the spot. He quickly used the hydration technique to merge into the water flow generated by the huge water explosion under his feet. Water style. Hard vortex water blade. Shadow clone sped away in an instant, opening and closing his palms, and a spiral water javelin took shape on his right hand in the blink of an eye. With a few leaps, he jumped over the thick water mist, soared into the sky, and the hard vortex water blade in his hand hit Suzanu's face directly. Use Shadow Clone marked with the Flying Thunder God mark to attack with the hard vortex water blade. After hitting the opponent, the main body will perform a second surprise attack with Flying Thunder God slash. It's an old and boring tactic. Uchihamadara's eyesight was strong enough to see through Senju Hashirama's wood-style clones, and he saw through Yamanaka Kei's shadow clone at a glance. Senju Tobirama used this trick to kill countless members of the Uchiha clan. His younger brother, Izuna, also died from the Flying Thunder God slash. Among the Uchiha clan at that time, how many people didn't know the hard vortex water blade set of moves? You actually use this trick to deal with him? Is it ignorance, or a vain attempt to provoke his anger? Boom! The giant chakra blade in Suzanu's hand collided with the hard vortex water blade in Shadow Clone's hand. The waterspout that had been compressed to the ultimate level lost its restraints and expanded rapidly in an instant. The sharp rotating water jet rubbed and collided with Suzanu's giant blade, causing bursts of piercing buzzing sounds. Just as the two forces were in a stalemate, Suzanu's other arm, holding the giant chakra blade, chopped down again. Bang! The water tornado created by the hard vortex water blade was split into water splashes all over the sky. And the remaining pair of arms of Suzanu had already completed the seals. Fire style. The fire is extinguished. A giant fireball, like a meteorite, rushed straight to the location where the hard vortex water blade was spreading. If Yamanaka Kei did as Uchihamadara wished, and used the Flying Thunder God technique, he would appear at the location where Shadow Clone was just now. I'm afraid it will be burned to charcoal in an instant by this super large-scale fire style. Boom! A giant fireball fell to the ground, the flames exploded and dissipated, turning into a sea of burning fire. It collided again with the large lake that Yamanaka Kei had previously created with the water style, stirring up even more smoke. Smoke once again enveloped the entire bottom of the pit. Uchihamadara narrowed his eyes slightly. He seemed to have only seen Shadow Clone being engulfed by the flames and turned into chakra smoke. His position was accurately locked in the thick fog, and through Suzanu's actions, it was determined in advance that he could not continue to perform the Flying Thunder God technique. What an exaggerated nerve reaction speed! Uchiha's lips curled up into an amused and playful smile. This kind of battle is a little more realistic. However, the real body still hasn't shown up. Is the target the Gedo statue? Suzanu jumped back violently in the thick fog created by the collision of fire style and water style. The distance of nearly 100 meters had been opened up unknowingly, but it was quickly shortened with this leap. With the experience gained from countless life and death battles on the battlefield, Uchihamadara easily guessed that the disappeared enemy must have been heading towards the Gedo statue. After all, the pipe connected to the Gedo statue behind him has always existed since he started fighting. Theoretically, as long as there is enough chakra, the pipe extending from the Gedo statue can easily span 1,000 meters, and it is so hard that it is far beyond the ability of ordinary people to destroy it. But this guy can even cut through a second stage Suzanu. Tisk! What a quick reaction! Yamanaka Kei's perception has been extended to the limit. Through the thick fog generated by the collision of fire style and water style, he clearly captured Suzanu's every move. Uchihamadara knew better than anyone how important the Gedo statue was to him. In the original work, when this thing was under the control of the opponent, the chains shot out of its mouth could directly cross a distance of thousands of meters and put shackles on the necks of the nine-tailed beasts. God knows how long that tube that supplies life energy to the other party can extend. Simply pulling the battlefield apart through fighting probably wouldn't be very useful. So the best way is to give this thing away. There is no Rinnegan. Even if Uchihamadara had great abilities, he couldn't directly summon the Gedo statue back. Anyone whose life is threatened will burst out with amazing fighting power. A last gasp, a desperate struggle, a dying counterattack, a vindictive blow. The wisdom of our ancestors tells us that enemies at this time are often the most terrifying. Besides, Uchiha Madara is not an ordinary person. If this guy tries his best, well, now is the time to truly test the system. To Yamanaka Kei. Can't I just eat some licorice radiata when I'm fine? Nine Tails said he didn't dare to confront it head-on. Is it wrong for him not to confront Uchiha Madara head-on, who is bullying Nine Tails? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you're notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.